Well, actually, now that it's live, I can log it over. Another thing I've been playing around with is having a dedicated chat server, which would be really nice.
Hello, world.
So just give us a few minutes to get set up. I'm sure we're not live yet anyway. Events.
Let's turn on the
There it is. Okay.
Test
Good.
one.
All right.
Test one. Boom, boom. The thunder of the microphone.
I realized before I was a little too close on the microphone, so I gotta make sure not to. Okay. Got a little closer. That's not too bad.
Let's see.
Hey, Masa. Thanks for joining us.
Howdy.
We're just getting started. I'm actually
Getting set. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, look, I can see myself
yeah.
adjusting things.
Put the shirt on. It's not that bad. Just to get us a feel for how it is. So we'll be starting with our talk about Tenchi Yamada's here in just a minute as we settle in and get everything all set up here.
Level sounding okay?
Have some fun stuff. Say what?
Level sounding okay? You wanna
Sound,
play
of course.
that?
Oh yeah, let me try our theme song here. Oh, I'll plug in first.
Hey, folks.
There we go. Good. So there. Hey, Liquidus.
Liquid.
Glad to hear you. Glad to see you.
Test one.
Yes. Yeah. Indeed, Liquid. And just give this a minute here. What do y'all think of the interview with Studio Cosplay?
Oh, I'm curious.
That's uploaded. Now that part 2 is up. That's very exciting. We're playing around with lots of cool ideas and cool plans and options. Let me see if I can't get the video to be right here. So the video I'm getting live is from, okay, there we go. It was way back. Good. That's looking nice. A little spider claw set of microphones. So I can close a few of these things. Like I said, we're having fun with plans.
I've been in the minefield.
You guys may be seeing a new website this week. Should be very exciting.
Hey, everybody, what I missed?
Hey, there it is. Nice. All right. Ooh, actually, you know what? I can show the animation.
The animation?
Yeah.
The animation itself?
The Smoke and Mirrors animation.
We have an animation?
We do. Imagine that.
I like that.
So let's see. In
a
fact,
show about animation with animation.
Animation, right?
Yeah.
Someday we'll find some animators who can actually they'll anime-ize us. So
Ooh,
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be 2 characters and we'll be piloting a spaceship or something.
Live animation.
Yeah.
Run us through the character filter.
Exactly, yeah. They can do some neat sound. Unfortunately, we'll have to be covered in little ping pong balls everywhere. But oh well.
There's worse outfits.
Exactly. All right. So let's see if we can get this working. Pull out. Do I have my stuff here? Let's see. That's fine. All right. Let's give this a try.
Welcome.
Indeed. Welcome to Smoke and Mirrors. Not bad, huh? Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Exactly. Ooh. Oh, that's right. So we are back with the Tenchi OVA. Yeah, we're official. We have an intro.
Yeah.
actually, I don't know. Is my mic on? I'm maybe
Are you
doing
hearing?
Yeah. I'm hearing myself very softly. I think I'm coming in through your microphone, actually. It's sounding more like a room mic than an actual mic.
How's this one sound?
This one that sounds great, but I don't think I'm getting anything.
Let me see what I can do.
1 second while we get that taken care of.
Let's see. Oh, helps to have the mic on.
There we go. Okay. There we
Hear
go.
yourself better?
That sounds more right.
Everybody else can hear you better.
There we go. Cool. Okay, so
I have this octopus coming at me. Okay, push that one out of the way.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, welcome to Smoke and Mirrors.
Welcome. Wait, the audio still sounds off.
Does it?
Yeah, it was fine for a second, and then it sounds just like room stuff for me. Maybe
Test one. Try
test one.
Yeah.
Test two. Do you hear me? Test.
I do hear you, but I'm wondering if I'm getting it through here.
Yeah. Test. Do you hear me? Oh, okay.
I can boost it if you like.
No, that's fine. It was just echoing in my. Maybe I'm just not hearing it through.
Oh, that could be.
That's better.
Ah, yeah.
All right. Sorry about that.
Every once in a while, there's technical
Exactly.
fun time.
Yeah.
As we hammer those out like a blacksmith.
Exactly. Yeah. Something else we'll have to do at some point. Blacksmithing. That's a lot of fun.
That is.
Yeah.
Metalwork.
Oh yeah. I'll bring in my anvil and all that kind of stuff.
That made by Acme? Or? I've always
You
wanted
should.
an Acme.
I know. So we're at the end of the Tenchi OVA.
No! No!
The big climax. Very exciting.
Come again?
Well, no, that's Yamada's
No,
first
that's
time that we're thinking of. So yeah, so we're back with the big showdown with Kagato and the various characters. Whoops, actually, oh yes, we had seen that, and so yeah, so people are getting pretty serious here. What's going on? That's not. Hold on, we're getting
queuing up.
For some reason. Continue. Oh, it was that problem I had. Okay, 1 second, guys. Sorry. Every time we do this, something goes weird.
So, if you haven't checked it out yet, we do have some interviews with some incredible ladies who have got a Kickstarter program off the ground. They were fully funded, and they are setting up a makerspace for cosplayers.
Isn't that awesome?
That is great. There's so much that collaborative work can accomplish that you can't do as an individual.
Exactly.
Just imagine the outfits that you can that can be made now. So they're still looking for a space, I understand. So if you know anybody out there who has warehouse space or office space in the DC metro area, you might want to contact them. And do you remember what their website was?
StudioCosplay.org. .org. I tried .com. You want .org.
StudioCosplay.org.
Indeed.
Org.
Yeah. Yeah, and they got all their information up there about what they plan to do and all their plans. And links to the Kickstarter, so you see all that stuff.
Very talented.
Very talented folks with a lot of experience. They also, I think they linked to their, well, I linked to their Facebook pages in the description for our interviews. So you can go to their Facebook pages and see all the cosplay they've done. They have photos up there of all their outfits. So you can see some of the stuff they've done. It's very impressive. Very cool. So, okay. So we're at the end of Tenchi. No, exactly. But we're now facing down some of the big stuff at the end of the story. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Very big stuff.
Very big stuff. So at the end of the last episode, we had a bit of a shocker that Tenchi seems to have been destroyed.
No, Tenchi, no.
No.
It appears he's been obliterated. There's just no trace of him anywhere.
Exactly. And so there's a little bit of argument between Ayaka and Ryoko about what that actually means. But Ryoko pulls a gem. And
from her ear.
From her ear.
Was she hiding that?
She may have been. So now she has 2 gems. And she's transforming into battle armor there. Pretty cool. And now she's she's in full rage mode. She attacks the Soja. And we cut back to, so this is kind of interesting. Sasami's back on Earth. She did not go along with them. So she's back on there and trying to, she's very scared about Tenchi and what's going to happen. And so she does this interesting thing. Hey, Nai. She calls on the power of the trees.
Now, there are different types of trees in this show. So
there are.
So there's ordinary trees, and then there's trees that are spaceships.
Right. And she certainly seems to be calling upon the Jirai trees, and we see the logo there, or some kind of symbol of the trees. Cutting back to our heroes trying to do this. Back on the spaceship.
Back on the ranch.
We see that Ayeka has transformed. She's got her own sort of battle armor on. We'll see here in a second. Some great Sakuga animation. There we go. So she's got her own stuff going. That's pretty cool stuff.
And this ship is no ordinary ship. This is an
unusual
unusual ship.
It's a very unusual ship. Kagato claims he built it, but now we're starting to see later on in the episode that that's not quite true. And of course we have a little organ sequence. Gotta have that.
Yeah, villain, gotta have an organ.
Exactly. But then we cut back and we see there's Tenchi.
With the wooden Coke cans.
With the wooden Coke cans.
The protectors.
Exactly. So the defenders did their job, and they're holding him in stasis. But now the Lighthawk wings have unfurled. But who could be doing that? She looks kind of familiar. Yeah. Kind of a little bit. She has long hair. Oh.
She's getting pretty close to.
She is, yeah. It's almost like she knows him. What's going on? Oh, my goodness.
She just entered him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Spirit.
And forms a protective layer. All right. And now we get to find Kagato. But Mahoshi has a problem.
Yeah.
She wants to go along with. Come on, why not? But her little,
her cube.
Mm-hmm.
Her control cube.
Control cube bounced in and put her on the other side of the floor. What the heck's going on here? How strange.
That's all.
Oh. Well, and this gets back to some of this wonderful inventiveness of this whole series. Weird technology. Ryoko is pulling energy beams out of everywhere. The technology is just really, really different. Very alien.
Very, very. It almost reminds me of a Through the Looking Glass. You have the two sides of the mirror there. And
exactly.
Different realities.
Yeah, it's very, very different. Kind of abstract.
Very empty Escher world.
Yeah.
We were noticing that. I'd love to have a living room that size.
So we have our confrontation with Kagato. And this is important plot-wise because we need to see the how powerful our villain is. We need to establish that. We've seen Kagato before. We've seen him handily solve problems. But now we get to actually get a chance for
been shot in the chest.
Yeah, and he just shrugs it right off.
Whoa.
Whoa. Right. He seems, nope, not quite.
As every good villain has a shadow.
Right.
A decoy presence. Uh-oh.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
Wow. He just really sucked the energy out of her.
Mm-hmm. Completely inert. And now she's vulnerable, which is not good. Now here again we see those empty hands, which is very interesting.
Yeah, everybody's beginning to get some markings on their face, which is a little bit different from how we've seen them in other scenes.
Yeah, that seems to have something to do with this sort of Jiraiyan battle armor, this sort of Jirai being these sort of alien princesses. So we get a little bit of fun here with Mahoshi playing around with these snakes. And again here we have, and I want to point this out, one of the things we've seen in the series is that Mahoshi is kind of goofy and she's silly and she doesn't know what she's doing. But the snakes attack her and she immediately does this pretty damn awesome backflip.
Wow. Instinct takes over. Jump. She really lays it out on those snakes.
Exactly.
She doesn't pull any punches. I think she doesn't like snakes.
Apparently not. Not to get into spoiler territory, but later on there are strong hints and they deal with the idea that Mihoshi has like the best worst luck in the universe. So she attracts all these problems, but she's able to, just through sheer luck, able to deal with them.
Oh, was that a new person there.
Oh yeah. So there's this red-headed girl that has shown up behind poor Mahoshi there.
The snakes are starting to break free. Do something, cube.
You're right.
It's a Rubik's cube.
The Rubik's cube.
The control cube. I like how she twists.
And it's doing something clearly.
That's about my experience with the Rubik's cube. I can twist it and that.
Yeah.
And I never get anything.
At some point, you'll have the trick to change the labels.
The shortcuts. Pop out the corner out and reassemble it.
Exactly.
Whoa.
That was close. Yeah. She's out. Yep. So this is Washu, who clearly appears to know what she's doing and what's going on.
Yeah.
Very self-confident.
She just knocks those snakes out of the way.
No.
What?
And pulls Ryoko through. How convenient. How nice.
So she pulled her through the floor.
Yeah. Now we know that we're in like some
other side.
The other side. Yeah. And she very frankly looks at Ryoko's body and her muscle tone.
Her visual psychological tactics are off, and she points that out in a very physical way. She points that out here.
Point out. You should note where she's pointing.
What does she mean by visual psychological tactics?
Your sex appeal, of course.
Don't tell me I haven't changed in 700 years. Of course, the voice is a little better. That's my voice in 700 years.
Right. She says, that's no way to talk to your mom.
Mom?
Ah.
Mom.
So here we have the big reveal that Washu is this brilliant genius scientist that basically built everything we see here. The ship, and Ryoko, and Ryoki, and
the brains behind the whole operation there.
Exactly, but she's been trapped away in this sort of negaverse for 700 years.
That's a long time to be trapped away.
Absolutely. So clearly some kind of problem going on with her. She couldn't quite deal with. We'll note again here, I think we talked about it before, the non-symmetrical designs here. You have some of the costume on one side of the face, but on the other side of the face, a neat design element in the series. So Ryoko's a little annoyed, but here's the thing: Washu, because she is her mother and she built her, knows everything going on inside Ryoko. With how she feels,
all her desires,
all she wants to do with Tenchi. And this and that, and the other thing she wants to do. Shut up!
You!
But Ryoko can go back. She has that power because she can teleport between things. We've seen that before.
Now on the other side, she was kind of stoned.
She was.
Whoa.
But hopefully now, yeah,
that was kind of sexy. What's going on there?
I think it's very unsexy very quickly. So Yosho appears in front of Ayaka. Yosho is Ayaka's brother, or half brother, that she was searching for so long.
Dreaming, but look at that.
Yeah.
Tendrils going around. Oh,
yeah.
I think she thinks there's something fishy going on here.
Yeah, he's disassembling her here.
He's a faker.
Yeah.
That's not him.
That's not him.
No.
It was a trick all along. Imagine that.
They got him. Oh, a bolt through his arm.
Yeah.
Now, he's not using his shadow now, so that must hurt.
That must hurt, but he can deal with it.
He's powerful.
He's very powerful. And so we get a little bit more combat. But now we cut back to, so now Tenchi is in this special place with this new character who calls herself Tsunami.
Tsunami.
And we've been introduced to Tsunami before. Kagato asked how to get the power of Tsunami. What I think is explained at some point is that Tsunami is the most powerful tree ship that the Jiraians have.
Wow.
But it's a secret. Like no one's seen it or heard. It's a legend of this ship. And we get a hint later on in the scene as to what's going on. So obviously Tenchi's being sort of regenerated or healed up by Tsunami.
Tsunami, Sasami.
Oh, that sounds familiar, doesn't it?
His outfit is
glowing. Exactly.
And he has a green
he does.
Head, so he must be in some of the armor.
Mm-hmm. So he's starting to get, well, we know he is descended from Yosho. So he has that royal blood in him. So he's starting to claim to get some claim on this. We had some wonderful animation here. Wonderful battle animation.
No way out. No, cheer for them.
Okay, so this is some interesting bit that you're supposed to kind of understand what's going on. That's why it's so powerful, because I'm perfect. So he stops and we see that these those little bits come around him. That is Ayeka's protectors. The little protective wooden bits that she can summon. She's now summoning them around Kagato. So she's weak, but she can at least stop him from moving. So Ayeka is doing her best, which is very dangerous because Ayeka is not physically as powerful as Ryoko is. She has lots of powers, but she, physically she can get very damaged. So now that he's stopped, Ryoko tries that. That's gonna hurt, which is good. So what's gonna happen?
As they watch.
We get some fun look at this, but Kagato's not stopped. Now he knows all the tricks.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
Oh, blood. I think that was one of the things they cut out. Teleports. So I really like the tag teaming going on here. Yeah. This idea that the characters are trying to different things with each other. That's pretty cool.
That's some power there.
That's some power. So she tries to crush him, but she can't crush him. Why not? And so this is a mystery which Washu reveals. So the problem is with Ayeka there. If Ryoko unleashes her full power, all that energy will just burn her. Yeah.
All friendly and foe get destroyed together.
Exactly.
Super.
And not a good thing. And so, and Ryoko saves Ayeka. The sweet little gesture there. Of course, she'll never say it.
No. It's because they're tag team. The enemy of my enemy.
Right, exactly, yes.
Is my friend.
Exactly. So Washu quick pulls Ayeka out. He's very smart. Trying to give Ryoko some time. Unfortunately, so because these are all kind of a piece, the Kagato is able to tap into Ryoko's power. And basically use her as a battery for his ship, which is not a good thing.
Wow.
So she's being drained as a power source for the ship, and so now he's going to attack Earth in a very Grand Moff Tarkin Star Wars kind of gesture. So he'll blow that apart so he can get to Sasami and Yosho back on Earth, which would be bad. So and again, this is one of those things where he's gonna shoot them. The assumption is that they're powerful enough they're not going to be destroyed. There'll be some sort of protection, but that will remove whatever they're on, so we can then get to them. It'll weaken them. The blast goes.
However,
but
expectations
do not meet reality.
So that was blockage, but not just any blockage.
Not just any blockage. And there's this neat little shot here where we get these little
out of nowhere.
Yeah, this is the problem with dimensional starships. You can get stuff out of nowhere. And so the Lighthawk wings reappear.
Now, the Lighthawk, the most powerful ship.
So this is a manifestation of the Jorian power.
The Royal Family ship.
The Royal Family ship. So this is now manifested. And so, he's trying to stop there, but what's happening to his arm? Oh!
Whoa. Did he just grow his hand back real quick?
He just grew his hand back real quick.
Wow.
And there's our hero.
Tenchi.
Finally shown up.
He's covered the green thing, but he's got the stripes now.
He does, yeah. So he's healed up a little bit.
And look at his outfit. Wow, that's a very, very different.
It is. It's
You know, I noticed something here. His voice started to sound more mature and confident. Even though his leg is stuck and he still likes a little goofy there.
Yep.
He has the help of these two.
These two come on in and try to stop things, but not too helpful there, unfortunately. But now Tenchi has, there we go.
Yeah.
Pulls out the sword Tenchi. Again, some great animation there. Trying to attack Kagato, but he's still too powerful.
Now Kagato says here that he has all the gems.
He does.
He does.
He's managed to recover all the gems.
So he's pretty powerful. All those.
Indeed, he is. And
so, still using the sword though, Tenchi.
He's doing his best, but there's just too much energy in the other direction. Not really working out so well for Tenchi. So what's Tenchi gonna do now? As Kagato gets all squiggly and he's monologuing. There's a lot of monologuing in this, but Kagato's a cool villain. So now he's pulling Tsunami in. So now he's trying to pull in that ship, which means he can take it over, which would be very bad. And this is an important point here. It's one of the things that kind of, I think, makes anime often different than other shows, is that the heroes admit defeat. But Tenchi says, I failed, I can't do it, I'm done. Ryoko says, there's a very touching little moment here with Ryoko where she said, look, you got what you want, let him go. You know, Tenchi's not important to you anymore. You're going to have Tsunami, just stop it. And it's just, you know, she has no leverage, she's just begging. Yeah. That's pretty bad. So
she really does like
him. She does.
She lose everything else. Potentially.
Exactly. And so Tsunami's advice is for Tenchi to make use of his own power, whatever is within him. You believe in the Force, Tenchi, exactly. And they kind of stole the lightsaber sound effect, but that's okay. You can do that.
The power is within.
Right.
The sword.
He throws the sword away. Kind of surprises Kagato.
And he sounds so mature here.
He does.
He's making statements that you know, he doesn't sound
well, and
all unconfident.
And that's an important point. Once he makes the decision to protect the girls, once he decides to become a protector, it changes. It's like he comes out. You know, he's himself. Yeah, right. He's found his purpose in life, which is to protect these people that have come across. So there's a blast, pretty powerful blast. That's not good. Yeah. So he turns. Oh no! There are the wings.
There are the wings.
How is this possible? Ryoko thinks all is lost. Not quite yet. Then again, some wonderful animation here as Tenchi uses the power of the wings to transform into new armor, or new outfit, I should say.
And the
and then I love this. He grasps it and it becomes a sword.
Yeah,
that's
really transformation awesome. Of objects into existence.
Yeah, yeah. I think Washi was getting a little too excited. Oh.
Uh-oh.
That's not going to work out so well either. Tenchi's on a roll. And the classic anime. I love this.
The shield becomes a sword.
Yep.
Battle.
Oh. And we see he did slice through him.
Whoa.
But Tenchi's able to heal it up. He's able to actually regenerate his own body.
Whoa. Tenchi has the power.
He sure does.
The family is strong in him. Oh.
You won, boy. He's done. He's done. And
cut in half.
Yeah. And Washi is surprised. I want to make him mine.
Oh, wow. And the living room.
You're right. With built-in organ. Pretty nice.
Wow. His outfit.
Yeah.
Suddenly
transverted back. And so with Kagato down, now it heals.
Everybody's on the same side of the ship now. Oh. I love how she trips them. She's not going to let them get the jump on.
No, she's going to be first. She's going to be the first one to hug Tenchi. And, oh!
You rabbit cat, you.
How dare you?
Oh,
Watch you.
Mom. Mom, no. Watch you now.
She's very polite. Hi. Would you like to be my guinea pig?
Oh, as soon as she pulls one, another appears. This time it's Tsunami.
Force Sasami Sashi.
Tsunami Sasami.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Tenchi doesn't quite know his own strength. He's kind of cut the whole ship in half.
Oops! Run! The Coke cans. I love those.
Back on Earth. Back on Earth. Another normal day.
It's going to be another fine day here on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Breakfast time.
explosions in the background. Another normal day. So that's me. Not long after this came out in America, there was a poll on Usenet. Back for those of you who remember Usenet, Rec Arts Anime Mist did a poll for best anime villains, and Kagato came out on top. Everyone loved Kagato as a villain. He's a really fun one. So what'd you think?
I liked it. I want to see more.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this series has more to it.
Yeah, funny.
But the OVA, that section is done. So is there a second?
There's a second. There's actually a total of 3 OVAs, plus a little mini, actually 2 little mini episodes. Yeah, so there's plenty more, and those are all part of what's called the OVA continuity. So, as I mentioned before, every time they did a new major Tenchi series, they would often recast some of the origin stories and so forth. But for the OVAs, it's all the same story, same writer working on all of them. So you get the same, you get more backstory, more explanations about the characters, what was going on with Washu, why is she 700 years old but she looks like a child. That's kind of weird. About that. Yes, and that is revealed. More about the whole Tsunami Sasami thing, so they explain all that. There's a lot of very surprising stuff that they reveal later on in the series.
It left me wanting more.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Absolutely, absolutely. What did you think of the animation in this episode, in terms of the overall quality of that and how it got across the story?
I like the feel for the dimension.
Yeah.
Of it. It was very abstract in its approach. Unlike some of the other episodes where you're taken to sort of a realm where you suspend your disbelief. Okay, this can happen.
Yeah.
This was more of a abstract thinking, kind of playing with my mind. The whole double realm, the ability to draw power and create matter. The abstractness of it was a little bit more deep in this episode.
Yeah, and it's one of the things I like is that Tenchi can create. The Tenchi franchise can create these interesting powers and abilities, but then they try to stay within that, within the limitations of that. So they'll create this opposite world, but then you can only go through one way, and so they stay within the confines of that restriction for the rest of the story. And it's very important to, when you're creating all these crazy things, to have some limitations,
some continuity, some limitations,
exactly.
some boundaries to the multiple realities that could possibly be spun off from that.
Yeah, it can get really complicated really quickly. I particularly liked in this, and Tenchi is a great example actually of how anime studios like to do animation. And something you see a lot in anime, and we'll see if we can see some good examples of that in that ending. And for you listening on the audio, well, not going to have to be too much. But when Tenchi's attacking, and in his initial attacks here, you get some very detailed animation. So here, he's coming through, and that's fine. Goofiness there. So we get this beautiful animation of him running at Kagato. And again, actually, we'll show this even a little bit more detail.
Well, you know, I didn't notice that the wood grain isn't as visible there from that previous scene.
Go back a little bit there, see if we can see that.
So there it's visible, but when they're in the background,
oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
and that's something you see when you're closer near wood, but when you're farther away from wood, the wood grain kind of blends in. You don't really see it as much. So every little detail of the distance that you're viewing things from comes into play. They really thought this through.
And that's something that goes back that, in fact, Understanding Comics talks about that. How in manga they will tend to be very abstract until they want an object to have that weight and that reality. When something that object will then get all sorts of detail and all sorts of reality. And it's very important for attracting the eye. Like you say, it's not important to see all that wood grain here. It would detract from getting across the story. So Tenchi does this gorgeous leap, and then you notice in this shot, nothing moves. The camera is just zooming in on Kagato, and then we get this wonderful zoom in on the sword. exactly. And then Kageto's just standing there. Tenchi leaps back and is just kind of talking. And so it's this alternation between this very simple movement or minimal movement and these very detailed movements. Again, I just really want to get across the animation here. When Tenchi falls down, I'll see if I can't slow it down a little bit. So he gets hit here. Watch how he sort of wavers on his knees as he comes down, and how
a real
and you just see kind of the weight of all that cloth on him. There's a lot of detail. No, not so much. And again, you know, that wind, they had to animate all of that movement. It's amazing. And so this is part of that anime desire to show what's important. They can absolutely animate in a lot of detail, but you don't do it all the time. Otherwise, it gets muddy. But yes, the animation, I think, in this episode, like you say, the art is very distinctive, very abstract.
We said that front hall almost had an MC Escher feel.
Yeah,
I think you said earlier.
Definitely. It's a very unusual way of doing things, and it's also important for your final episode to set it in a place that feels dramatic and feels different and feels.
It definitely felt dramatic. I wonder what those two are made out of. What kind of wood? If that's the same kind of material that the spaceship is made out of.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Family trees.
Yeah, literally. So yeah, it's a very interesting episode. A lot of stuff going on, and like we were saying, it's interesting how in Tenchi, it can go very wild, it can go very crazy, but you still feel like you understand what's going on, which is very important and pretty cool. Especially for a weird sci-fi kind of sci-fantasy series.
So this kid got the gun for good.
So
oh no spoilers.
I will say that he was dead. As far as I've not seen Kageto since.
Okay.
Plenty of other villains show up and then all sorts of stuff. So one of the things I actually like about Tenchi is that, generally speaking, when they deal with the villain's dealt with. If he's dead, he's dead. If he's not dead, they'll show that and say he might come back at the end or something.
Yeah, using the shadow is a good sneaky tactic.
It is.
I got to remember to do that. Go out into real life.
Exactly, just my shadow.
That's okay. I wasn't hurt. It was my shadow.
Exactly. So yeah, so that's Tenchi Yo Game. Like you said, kind of whet your appetite for more. There's more stuff coming for the franchise. Certainly, if you want to go further than this. So we should probably say, after OVA 1 is OVA 2. There's no more detail. Made a few years after this, and then OVA 3 came out like 5 years ago. So the animation's quite a bit different. The style's a little bit different. Obviously, it's all digital as opposed to all cell here. You can also move on to the Tenchi TV series called Tenchi Universe, and that's a 26 episode TV series. Again, they reworked some of the origin stories, but the characters are the same in terms of personality, and that's a fun little more light adventure story.
So now with 26 episodes, that would be a 2 season, or is that 1 season?
So that's a very good question. So in Japan, generally speaking, they do have things come out over the course of seasons. So 26 episodes will be a 2-season show, so fall and winter, for example. But it's not seen as 2 seasons of a show in the sense of like House of Cards has 2 seasons. It's just one continuous 26 episode series that just goes on like a season of Friends. It's not going to be 13 episodes. It's going to go over the course of a year, but it's just all those episodes all together. Yeah. And Tenchi Universe is also kind of nice because it's a bit more episodic. There is some larger storylines, but it's having that slightly lighter tone makes it a little easier to just come in, watch a few episodes, go away.
Like yeah. Sometimes I miss a bit here and there. I love to binge watch because then I can devour everything. But sometimes I get up and make a sandwich during the show. I hate to say, oh, I got to rewind.
Yeah. So Liquidus makes a good point. So there is a villain in Tenchi Universe called Kageto. So they kind of he plays a different role, same role, similar personality, similar powers, but a different character. So they kind of do an interesting thing that way. And then you were mentioning Ryoko. In the second Tenchi TV series, Tenchi in Tokyo, we have an episode called Ryoko's Big Date.
Ooh.
Yeah. Little teaser there for you.
Yeah. Well, now I've got to see the rest of the series.
One of my favorite episodes, that is. Despite the fact that Tenchi in Tokyo has all sorts of problems, but that's fine. That happens. So that's Tenchi OVA. So yes, we may be coming back to this at some point. We'll have some more fun with that.
Yeah.
So we can move on to moving on to Yamada. Well, this was quite the episode.
Oh, the tissue box.
Yeah.
The camera.
It's a hint.
Yeah. Oh, I like that walking sign. I know it's funny.
That's cute. Little opening credit sequence here. So, here's an important thing. So it's spring, which means it's time for
new school year.
New school year, right?
Oh.
So,
and that's a different type of school system. So
right.
They have their end of year at
end of winter, basically. Yeah. So, in fact, I think earlier on I said, or somewhere I said that it's different calendar year. It's not quite. It's like about a month off. But yeah, so it's spring. So Yamada is now a sophomore, and still a virgin.
Takashi, her good friend, her loyal friend.
Oh, poor Takashi. and now Yamada's little sister is a freshman. I thought she was, I mean, younger than that. She's definitely petite.
Yeah, so she's just 1 year behind.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Wow. Poor Yamada.
Yamada's gonna
I love the expressions
competition.
in this.
Yeah.
Oh. One of the really fun things about this is they can go really over the top really quickly
To
and
H.
then come back. Oh, I just H. That's cute. Yeah, I just got that.
Check that.
Yes, that's fun.
All the boys.
All the boys.
Yeah.
So Yamada's gonna sit next
Oh,
to.
this kid.
Yeah.
So
Good for her.
I love her statement. Girls want to be me. Guys want to do me. Oh, no shame.
Still pretty obsessed. Still pretty obsessed. So everyone's back in the same class. So this is another sort of useful school thing is that students will get reassigned to classes every year. So you may not be in the same room you were before.
A chance to mix it up a little bit.
Exactly. So hopefully you get with some of your friends, maybe you don't. It's why in anime you often see folks kind of running from one class to the other between lunch and such. But a challenger appears.
Challenger. All the bubbles and sparkles. Oh my goodness, all the boys. Who is this?
Yeah.
Well,
seems kind of familiar. Haven't we seen her before? Oh, it's her.
Oh.
Everyone
the guys
loves
are all
her.
love struck. The wilting flowers. Yamada, poor Yamada.
Poor Yamada's.
Girl from USA.
She's just off with her head.
Oh.
Which, by the way, that's a reference to Rosa Versailles.
Rosa Versailles.
Yes.
I was thinking the queen from Alice in Wonderland. Off with her head.
Yeah.
And the roses. Different garden.
Different garden. Yeah, the Rosa Versailles is a very hugely popular girls series from the 70s. Manga and anime, and there's a little callback to that. It's kind of fun.
Check that out.
It's huge.
Oh, what's she trying to look up? Online purchase of
shotguns. Yeah, I'd love to know if that was the original line, or they had to shift some things around. That's just perfect. It's awesome. And then later, what is she looking up? Poisons, I think. Voodoo.
You can't get voodoo online.
Teacher shows up.
At the beginning of the school year.
Exactly.
Voodoo doll. I'm just against her.
Very, very cute. Sort of a super deformed Yamada there. A lot of fun. Ridiculous. Oh no, the blah 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 blah.
This was fun. English class.
English class.
And she's from USA, so of course she has the language
exactly.
better than all the folks who haven't traveled.
Yeah.
The sparkles.
Sparkles. Which
even the professor.
So this is the thing that kind of I really enjoyed about this is that you realize over the course of the episode she literally sparkles entire time.
She sparkles. She sparkles at
sparkling.
music. She sparkles at language. She even sparkles at gymnastics. Little sparkles.
And then back in the English, we were talking about how when she talks, at least in the dub, she
blah,
literally says,
blah, 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 blah. What? I love the subtitle. They're the English translation.
And I think what they were doing is that, so typically in these sorts of scenes, the Japanese voice actress will try to speak English, but the character is supposed to speak flawless English. So rather than try to make her do that, just blah, 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 blah. You get the idea.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Doing English. But where are we now? She still has the boys around her?
Yeah. Yamada is a little jealous. Oh, goodness. And home economics is not working out well
Oh, she does
for
not look
Yamada.
How'd her food turn out? Let's take a look.
So well compared to, oh, whoa.
Oh my.
A lot of competition here. So this gets back to a lot of the Japanese sort of cultural expectations of girls. Girls have to be able to cook well.
She sparkles at cooking. Even Yamada's friends give up and say, "Oh, that's good. That's delicious. That's incredible. I cook and that's good."
I love how F-Cup has this rich inner life.
she's in the forest, eating the most delicious. You're on my side, aren't you? You're in my camp.
No.
My stomach.
And again, you have this very sort of hyperactive jump between different art styles, which is really neat. Very goofy, very quickly. But no, Yamada's very concerned, and she's not very.
She's scouting.
Not happy at Kosada. Kosada just has no idea what's going on. Poor guy. So he's got to choose class rep.
Class rep.
And of course, who gets chosen?
Leadership.
Oh.
The cutest girl.
Right.
She turns away for 2 seconds.
And already her rival has overpassed her. And she then proceeds to go through all of her qualities. It's just, you don't really move like that.
How can she do this? At 15-degree turn, her weight halfway on one foot. Is she a model? Like, oh.
And here's a classic Yamada moment where she decides to be secretary, which means that she's at the board writing things down, which means that she's at her back to the class the entire time.
Here. Oh. So she didn't get her spot. Then.
No.
I love this trick.
Yeah.
All the boys are there with the papers. I'll just but it backfires.
But it completely backfires.
In typical Yamada fashion, she sabotages herself by
Absolutely. Yep.
And her friend always there, but
friend always there, giving them more realistic.
Yeah,
I think. Kind of fun.
All the girls who are thinking about it.
Yeah. And so here we get the reveal that she was in a fashion magazine or photography magazine.
But who reveals this?
Kosada.
Oh
no! Kosada's been looking at her, and he's figuring out what's going on. Oh, it's because he recognized her from the magazine.
Owner of the magazine.
Exactly. What's going on? Well, her brother photographed her, and he just happens to win everything. So, gosh. Teehee. I was so frustrated. But then when Kosada explains that he just saw her in a magazine,
I'm a photographer. It's a photography magazine.
Exactly. Yamada comes out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think this gets back to that relationship between the two of them. That Yamada really is jealous. Like she really, she does care about that relationship. But as soon as Kosada explains things, she's cool with it.
Yeah. That's a good healthy.
Yeah, it's pretty healthy reaction.
It's not that bad.
Yes, but we always see our first hint now.
Ooh, a little back and forth. Look at this. Oh, it's on. It's on.
It's on. Yeah, something very bad's going on.
Yeah, that's up. That's a palace home.
Now we get
the home on top of the home. It's cavernous. It's got marble statues, palatial residence, big red carpet.
So
oh my goodness.
We see this so often in anime. The rich girl. The classic trope that one of the girls has a lot of stuff.
Beyond wealth.
Yeah.
Wealth beyond wealth.
If you've seen K-On! Yuki, ridiculous wealth, and so here we go a little bit over the top.
She's not obsessed with it, but she has a picture of the magazine cover on the wall. It's larger than life.
I think that's a hint.
She loves looking in the mirror and It is on.
It is on. She recognizes a rival in Yamada, who of course did win that competition.
The first time she's
never lost.
Uh-oh.
So she's got to do something, and how is she going to do it? How is she going to get back at her?
She sparkles even when she's plotting evil plans. A pinky laugh.
Pinky laugh, the classic pinky laugh. Oh, and the reveal of the.
It's not just a monumental place, but it's a monumental place on top of a monumental place in a huge yard,
huge grounds.
Oh, the girls there who love her, but I want her to die a little.
I love that line. It's weird. I want her to like me, but I also want her to die a little.
The jealousy. She's so wonderful. I hate her, but I love her.
That girl cattiness. Yeah. She has her little. I love this little song she sings about destroying Yamada. It kind of goes on and on. It makes no sense. We just keep singing and singing and singing.
The secret.
Yes. So she's being invited back to the house.
Ooh.
I'm gonna see what's going to exactly.
Plan. It blows up Kosuna's attempt to ask her out on a date, and here they are in the stretch
solid
Rolls
gold
Royce.
limo, fruit. Little silly. They're already on the grounds.
Yeah, we've been on the grounds for plenty of time. We are here. We're just driving up to it.
What? Crazy. All the guys.
Nice intimidation factor. She tries. All the servants are there, ready and greeting, sparkling. Even the servants sparkle.
Even the servants sparkle. And this, again, classic Yamada moment where she sees a male nude and gets very intrigued.
She goes and looks at what? Okay, there
the middle, the middle region, central region of it, which her rival completely misinterprets. And so pretty quickly now we figure out what's going on.
You're not going to poison me.
So the pot
are sizing them up.
Exactly. Constant glitter. Love it. She figures out
secret. I think I know what's the secret. Which surprisingly would have been less shocking.
Less shocking than the reality.
Snake versus tiger.
That's a great shot.
The classic rivals. We are now. It's definitely on. We both know it's on, and we faced up. Okay.
Yeah. And one thing I appreciate about this, which I was afraid they were going to fall into something, is that the rival asks, "Who's your boyfriend?" Because I'm going to steal it from him. And so Yamada does this the right thing. And okay, so we got to explain this. So Yamada says, "Well, of course I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'll give you a reality." So the rival says, "We're going to find out who's on top."
We're going to find out who's on top. And imagination gives her.
Yamada, yeah.
Who's on top?
Who's on top? Oh,
who's on top?
That kind of on
who's
top.
On top? I'm not ready for that.
Oh.
I'll steal B-Cup's boyfriend.
Exactly.
It's funny hearing Chris Ayres pop in there.
Not really. So now the rival has to, she's feeling down. She's not sure what she's going to do. So she needs some solace.
Keep your hands off my box.
Exactly. Yeah, there are a few lines like that too. I'm like, do they know it? Yeah, they know what they're saying.
Yeah, okay.
They know what they're saying.
That could be, okay, yeah, it was.
Right. And so now she opens her box. Yeah. And reveals a lot.
But she pressed it.
She pressed it. And they asked for a voice
recognition. What's the
I
password?
love you. And then we have the opening of the door, and the door,
secure. But that's not it. It's like get smart. And she comes sparkling.
Yeah, right.
Biometrics.
Handprint.
And retina skin. And oh my goodness.
She opens. What could be her secret? What would be? Oh.
She has a crush on some guy.
Yeah, she really likes this guy.
She really, really likes this guy.
This is shrine territory.
Yeah,
this is pretty serious business.
That's stalker creepy territory.
It's pretty stalker creepy territory. Yeah, she's got his
smell
clothes.
of him.
Gosh.
But the housekeeper comes in and sees.
Yes.
She doesn't. She's only worried about people getting in, unless it's her confidence.
And I think she's the one who reveals it's not very healthy to have this level of obsession over your brother.
Brother?
Oh dear. Yeah. Bit of a bro-con here.
Who's in Harvard?
Who's in Harvard, yes.
Who's in Harvard.
And I think we see a shot here at some point.
Yeah. There he is at Harvard.
I love this. So we cut back to Harvard, and we have all the very blonde brunette girls looking at him.
She's emailed me, texted me, called me for the 100th time.
He sparkles.
It's a family trait.
He sparkles. I know.
A sparkly family.
Yeah. She even sparkles on the phone. That's pretty impressive. Oh gosh. So, but no, she's convinced. She's certain.
That girl loves her brother.
That girl loves her brother. I love the animation in this when she starts.
She's
wiggling back and forth.
The full body pillow.
No, she's serious.
Incest. Oh my
I
goodness.
know.
What's
I
wrong?
know.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
Everything.
So
many things.
Please keep her on our team.
Oh my. Yes. So that was a switch.
Now, if Yamada ever finds out this.
Oh, good point.
Person number 2 on her hit list for her 100 men, that would be the ultimate twist on her rival. Tiger would take Snake, put it in the. Oh my.
Oh, well, I'm wondering if Yamada's going to be able to, if she finds out, she can really hold that over.
Oh my, yeah.
I mean, if word got out, that'd be pretty serious business.
Now her name was Kanajo?
Kanajo.
Kanajo has, her secret is much more deep than Yamada even imagined.
Indeed.
That seems like tough security to crack.
What's bad about this is I don't even know how Yamada's going to react to this. I don't know what she's going to think, whether she's going to fight. I don't know.
This girl's a super freak.
Yes, pretty weird. And there they are, even in the end credits.
Oh, yes.
So what's going to happen next?
Well, she has a 1 month, I'm going to steal your girlfriend, or your boyfriend ultimatum to Yamada.
Yeah.
She has told her, within 1 month, I'll steal you.
Yeah. And we've already gone a year.
Yeah.
So that should be pretty quick.
And Yamada's thinking through, this is my boyfriend.
Right.
Oh, this is my boyfriend.
Well, in the beginning of the episode, she says, "It's time. We're gonna go ahead and just take care of this. I'm
gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it. Just stop waffling around." But Arrival appears a bit too quickly. So
is she gonna be pulled away by the rivalry, or is she gonna go for her goal? Is she distracted on her journey?
That's a very good question, and I think it's a great way of getting to kind of the heart of the series. Is that Yamada has this, let's be honest, straightforward goal. She knows what she wants, and it would not be hard.
Ambitious girl.
Yes, and even her short-term goal is pretty straightforward. But she keeps getting so worked up over the relationship side of things, which is not bad.
It's true life.
It's true life.
She approached it with one thought, but you can't completely divorce your feelings from a situation. And, wow. Based on the way she behaves and her goals, I think she'll take the route of her feelings.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope so. She certainly has a lot of feelings.
She does, and they're strong. And her imagination is just wonderful. Her imagination.
Always the dirtiest route for Yamada, which is so much fun. Like you're saying, so much fun to see that from the girl's perspective.
I know girls think that, but they don't admit to thinking that. At least not in front of guys.
Right.
In front of their girlfriends, they'll say that. And so it's refreshing. It's very refreshing.
It sure is. So we'll have to see. So we're about halfway through Yamada, and we'll have to see what happens moving on.
Episode 6.
Episode 6, yep.
So we're heading on to episode 7. Everybody check that out.
Yep. Check out episode 7 for next time, which means that next time we're going to be moving on to our next anime series.
Our next anime.
Yes, which will be The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya.
The Melancholy of... Wow, that's a tough name.
That's a tough name.
Haruhi?
So this was the classic series, The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, from I think 2006, if I'm remembering that correctly. That kind of came out of nowhere and exploded all over the internet and fandom, and everyone loved it. So we'll be watching that next time. So check out now. I should point out, important, we'll be watching this in broadcast order. So they showed, so the episodes do not happen in chronological order. That's part of the appeal of the series, is understanding where we are in the timeline based on what episode we're watching. So go back and look for broadcast order. We're watching it in that order.
So if somebody got the series, that wouldn't be the broadcast order then.
So this was the nice thing, is that when Bandai licensed it and released it, they folks said, how is that going to be ordered? How are you going to do this?
Never even thought about that as being a factor in releasing a title, because there could be you could start the story in the middle and then have the earlier episodes be released later.
Right, and that was part of the unique thing of the series, is that they were very deliberately revealing things in a certain order, in that sort of out of order, if you will. So what Bandai did, you got the original release, they said, we're going to give you both. So you got a whole set of DVDs in broadcast order and another set of DVDs.
2 releases.
Yes, in the same box set.
In the same set?
Yeah, so you bought the series and you got both tracks all the way through.
No, are they the same shows?
Yes,
just different order.
Different order. So you can have, 4 discs set up in chronological order and 4 discs set up in broadcast order.
So they didn't clean it up for this is the TV version, this is the...
Nope. It is the same content, just in a different order, which is pretty cool. I should also point out, which is again kind of important, is that yes, I do plan to do every episode of the Endless Eight if we get there. The whole nother thing. When Kyoto Animation, the studio that made Haruhi, when they initially released, I think we mentioned this before, they obviously there's some animation mistakes as it goes through. And Kyoto Animation actually published a side-by-side comparison of all the fixes they made. And so they made all those fixes before release on DVD. So all of the little issues they had with things where, for example, 2 characters would be in a shot, and then they cut to a different camera angle, and that character should technically be slightly in the shot, but didn't show up originally. They drew that character back in.
A little bit of extra time to refine the product.
Exactly. And there are little things like in their club rooms, is in a particular room in the so they realized going back that there's a shot where they've opened the club room window, and then you cut outside the school, and they looked at it and realized the window that the club room would be in, the window is drawn closed. No, you never know that. I mean, they never make any reference to where that is in the building. But they went back and they redrew it.
Some quality control person is going, whoa, how'd you guys miss this?
Exactly.
The whole story is ruined. Oh, no.
Yeah.
So you gotta meet deadlines.
And that's the thing. So if you have the fan sub for Haruhi, you probably have the one with all the mistakes in it.
Oh, the original release.
The original release. So if you go back, and then again, it's going to be the same running time, but you're going to see those little tweaks and bits in there. So it's worth tracking down the official release, so you'll get all of those bug fixes.
As a collector, that would be neat to have. Both
it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So you will get both sets on there. Now I should also point out, I believe there was a re-release of Haruhi recently, which was just the series in chronological order. So I'm talking about the original North American release. They've had save editions and such. They're just the series. Yeah, so that's the plan for next week.
Cereal box version.
Cereal box version. Oh, when they did it portrait. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So they tried to make it look like the novels. They were the inspiration for Haruhi.
Oh, so cereal box. I'm thinking of you got me thinking of a Wheaties box.
Well, that's the thing. They look
cereals like
so it's kind of that portrait. Yeah.
The portrait.
Yeah.
The landscape.
Right.
It was
yeah.
For all you listening, just to the audio, we were gesticulating wildly to show the dimensions and aspect ratios.
watch the video. Yeah, and that's the other nice thing with a good point, Liquidus, is that you can go online and find out what the broadcast order is. So if you want to see broadcast order, you can, it'll say, episode 1 came out in this order, and episode 2 and so on.
There's one site that I like to hop onto every now and then. I think it's AnyDB.net.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they have all sorts of information about different characters and this release and that release. And if you like this title, there's similar titles and all sorts of different. And they've structured it as a database, which is really nice because then you can search on stuff and get the alternate titles. I never knew it was named that. In Spain.
Yeah. That's the other thing. It's amazing how all the different versions and releases and voice actors and so forth. It's crazy. Yeah.
And the English cast. There's the Japanese cast.
And the Filipino cast, the Korean cast. It's pretty amazing.
Now you said Bandai was the company that released it.
Yes.
And Kyoto was the studio.
Kyoto Animation was the anime studio. The animation studio.
Because it's always interesting to see at the beginning of DVDs. There's several different splash screens with this company and that company, and then it kind of jumbles together after a while. Who bought who, and when was this released, and who is that studio still around? Or?
Yeah, and it's complicated too because sometimes Bandai's a good example where they're a Japanese company, but sometimes they'll have a show, but it'll get licensed by somebody else in America because the company's just not interested in releasing that in America. And somebody says, "I'll do it." Then, sure, you go ahead. So sometimes it'll be a Bandai show, but released by Funimation.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wait a second. Funimation's okay. U.S. release.
Yeah. In fact, there's a Kickstarter right now for or it's going to be coming up for Otaku no Video, the actual Otaku no Video OVA. And it's licensed for release in every country in the world except Japan.
Except Japan.
Because it's already licensed in Japan. Somebody's already selling that in Japan.
What?
So
How?
So I'm sure Gainax still has the rights to release that in Japan. So those rights are still there, but for
we have to go to Japan. We'll battle it out.
Exactly. So that's the kind of nice thing about Kickstarter is that you can live in Sweden and still buy it. It's just if you're in Japan, you should buy the Japanese version because you're supporting that company and those companies. But yeah, so it's cool. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you next week.
See y'all.
Yes. Okay, so let's see here. Scrolling back up to see what you guys were saying about Tenchi. A lot of chat room discussion there. I tried to glance in, but a lot going on. So how did Toonami handle the violent scenes where Ryoko getting Kagato through the neck? As I recall, pretty much everything was in there. The violence wasn't an issue.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That was me throttling myself.
I believe they edited out when Ryoko falls back and the blood comes out of her mouth. I think they cut that bit out because generally showing flowing blood on American television in prime time is no-go.
Now, Toonami is a special case, though.
True.
Isn't Toonami, they play a little bit later. Have they always played?
So that's the thing. No. So back in the day, they had a 4 p.m. slot.
Oh, early. When kids are getting out of school.
Exactly, yeah. And they had a 7 p.m., I think, slot as well. So they've gone from 4 p.m., actually 3:30 at one point, all the way up to after midnight.
Oh, wow.
So different time slots. In fact, when they did Tenchi, I think they aired that later in the time slot, but it was evening, not like late at night. So they gave it a little bit more.
So did they predate Adult Swim?
Yes. So Toonami came first, and then Adult Swim was launched so that they could show so it was Toonami, and the Toonami Midnight Run, which was the unedited versions. Unedited. They
more mature theme.
Yeah, good example in Gundam Wing, there's a shot where one of the characters is tied down, and you pan down, there's a shot, and his wrists are bloodied from where he's been working him against his wrist, and he's trying to get out of it, and he can't. So in the 7 p.m. version, they just see him struggling, but you don't see that shot of his wrists. In the midnight version, you can see the bloody wrist. So things like that, where it's not, hideously gory, but stuff you probably wouldn't want kids to see. Yeah. Yeah, so they edited that, but I think pretty much all of the violence in that first OVA thing was okay for general broadcast. It was just, I think, just the blood there, but I'm not sure. Yeah, Toonami is sure a pretty tree. He certainly is.
Spaceship Me.
Spaceship made of the Exodus trees. Let's see if I know that a little bit. Come on, there we go. So I found this out recently. It is legal to sample audio from movies and use it in your own movie. Which
how much of the movie can be sampled?
So
I sampled the entire movie
exactly,
and I put it
yes.
in an 8-hour-long movie.
But like when they were doing Evil Dead, they sampled stuff from other horror movies, and like they checked that it is okay to do that as long as you are creating a new work, and you know it's a sound effect.
Theoretically, aren't we creating a new work by doing this? So maybe we could, but that's movies.
That's movie, well, and that's the thing is that if you're sampling it for basically a clip for not we're trying to pull in dialogue, we're trying to pull in content, we're trying to pull in the sound that the radiator made in the background. We're trying to pull in
so we can steal sound effects.
You can.
Yeah.
Technically, you can do that.
Okay, friends. Send in our sound effects.
Now, of course, they can still sue you, but they may lose in courts. So you know, it's legal. But so I think what they did is they literally sampled the lightsaber sound effect from Star Wars and just used that in Tenchi.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Could also be the lightsaber sound effect is actually hitting a high tension wire that's in the ground with a metal wrench.
That's a cool sound. If you've ever heard that.
No.
they have that twang to them.
So yeah, so episode 7, so the next episode of Tenchi, the special is basically another episode of OVA 1. It depends on how you count. So this episode was technically the end, but then they kind of did a bonus episode. Okay, so like what else? You asked why were older series 26 episodes, now they're 13. Budget. Yeah.
Budget makes a big difference.
Yeah. It's cheaper, it's quicker, and you can get it to market more quickly. And then if it's successful, you can do another 13 episodes. That's fine.
You know, it's interesting that the melancholy Haruhima came out in a different order because it seems like a lot of the shows, they're still kind of getting everything together in the first few episodes, and it feels a little bit loose. You see sometimes on different anime, the opening credits will change, and some of the characters will become a little bit different as it goes on. And it seems like that raw energy in the beginning hasn't been molded yet to a packaged concept.
And I don't know how often. I know in the case of Serial Experiments Lane, they produced the first episode as a test. So they basically got the money to make episode 1.
Serial Experiment.
And because people just weren't sure what it would look like, they had all these different sort of visual ideas, and so they basically got the money to do episode 1 basically on spec. And then once the studio saw that, and once the backers saw that, like, oh, I get it. Yes, this is going to work. We can move on. So I don't know how often that is, but that's one of the reasons why episode 1 has a slightly different pacing. It feels different. It's still visually correct, but it feels like it's a little bit more of an experiment. So that may be part of it too. Is that those first few episodes are kind of okay, we're going to figure things out.
With stuff that's coming out, sometimes I'm like, oh, make it past that 13 mark. I want to see 26 episodes of this. This is great.
Exactly. But
and sometimes they make comments. Show, keep watching us, please.
So yeah, they are moving back to 26 as more of a standard now. So you're seeing that. But yeah, like you said, like it is often more of a test drive at the first 13 episodes, and then if it goes well, you can go.
It's a light snack.
But then the other thing too is that there's more of a focus now on adapting existing works and trying to kind of strike while the iron is hot. So you're not going to wait until there are 15 volumes of the manga. You're going to wait until there are 5, but then you don't have 50 episodes worth of material yet. So there's also kind of that thing. Like Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach are great examples of that, where until Naruto was over to start Naruto, we wouldn't have a Naruto anime series yet. So you gotta figure that out. Yeah, so the budget is an issue. And yeah, the anime is kind of an ad for the, and that's actually a very good point, Masa, is that because the anime is kind of an ad for the source material, it makes sense to produce a shorter version of that. Because you don't need to make a big one to kind of make your ad. Yeah, it kind of depends. Yeah, and so binge watching is a whole nother side of the coin. In Japan, as I understand it, and I don't know, this is actually an interesting question as to how many anime fans watch it on television or wait for the DVD release. Because in Japan, there's going to be a DVD release. There's no concern about licensing. It's easier for the fans to just say, well, I'll catch an episode and then I'll get it on DVD.
I would think with the expense of DVDs in Japan, it may be a little bit prohibitive for most people to binge watch the DVDs, where with the US, the cost for the DVD is so much less comparative to the salary and the release. It's quite a difference.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's anything like Netflix for Japan or.
So there are some streaming services, some Japanese anime streaming services. So yeah, there's that. I'm not sure if there's a Netflix. If there's like a version of Netflix for Japan or not. I mean, like Netflix only has a Japanese version.
I'm sure somebody's come up with something.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's a very good question, though. But it's kind of weird. Like over here in America, for American anime fans, we generally tend more to watch shows as they're coming out as opposed to binge watching. That's how the fandom has changed over the past 5 or 10 years or so. You and I getting into it, and I had to binge watch.
Yeah, there's so much material too, and there used to be only a few outlets where you could get stuff, and if you could get it, and so we'd watch whenever we could find something. But now, there's so many distribution networks and ways to view, and with the internet getting us stuff sooner from fan summers and pre-release.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the climate.
Yeah, and I think we all do too. Also go through those periods where sometimes we're keeping up, and sometimes we're just we'll get to it.
Some series I'll wait till it's within the last few episodes, and then I'll start at the beginning.
Yeah,
and then I'll binge watch that, and then there's a handful of episodes left. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tune in every week. Crap, I missed it. Okay, I'm gonna go back. Okay, who's got it? Still around? Okay, there, I can watch it. Okay,
yeah, exactly. And it depends on the show too. I mean, there's a lot of things like Yamada's first time. Like that's the kind of show that you could absolutely binge watch.
Oh yeah.
You just keep on going and go through it.
I don't know if my side would tolerate it. I laugh so much at Yamada.
Exactly. But like a Gundam series, which is so plot heavy. That's something that works better as sort of a more serial situation. In fact, there are 3 Gundam series that I watched serially with a friend week by week. And it worked out very well because we were able to kind of talk back and forth and go through it. So it depends on the show. And of course you get your backlog, exactly what it is. At some point you're like, I've got 100 shows to watch. And discussions. Well, and Haruhi's a great example of that, where everyone was kind of reacting to what the show was, and so it was fun to be part of that. What is this? What's going on?
When something gets released and there's still a lot of buzz about it, that's fantastic. You can jump on that and ride those waves.
Exactly. Yeah. So what are we going to do since we're watching just season 1 of both season 2 together? Yeah, so we're going to do season 1 of Haruhi, and then we'll probably take a break from that. We'll watch something else. I'd like to go back. I mean, the thing about Haruhi is there's season 1, season 2, and the movie. So there's not really that much in terms of content. So if you like season 1, we can move on. You don't know what this means. If we do the Endless 8, what we might do is condense that down and do a few episodes at a time. Or we might just do all of them in 1 week. We will find out. We'll figure it out as we come to it. This will be explained to you in future. Don't want to spoil it. It's great fun. So then, and actually, that ordering is a good reason to digitize your anime. Obviously, you don't have to do that for everything, but Haruhi's a great one to do that for, because you can digitize them all and just make a copy and say, okay, I've reordered all of these, you know, and so I know where they are, so you have more flexibility that way.
Nokia.
Yeah. Where are we? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed some stuff. Yes, swapping those around. The only anime that has 2 orders is Rental Magica. Interesting. They did the same thing. That's good. Good old Right Stuff. Right Stuff knows what they're doing. Right Stuff. Yeah, economically flawed, but be the fans. Let's see here. Yes, they're gonna subtitle talking to a video in Klingon.
Yeah.
Because you got to do that.
Oh, if we could get Klingon subtitles.
That would be awesome.
If somebody knows Klingon, we'd like to subtitle our stuff.
And actually, that was an interesting thing they brought up with Kickstarter, is that they're doing no English dub. Partly because they said just trying to get that across in English would be a very hard challenge. But then they're going to have 2 commentary tracks. One is going to be by the president of Gainax.
Wow.
Yeah. One is by I'm going to forget her name. I feel so bad. A voice actress, a very well-known anime voice actress, and then a few other people are going to be on that. So they said that there's going to be at least 3 audio tracks and at least 2 subtitle tracks, English and Klingon. And they said the issue they're having actually is because normally like for Bubblegum Crisis they said whoever wants to translate this into their language, translate it, send it to us, we'll put it on the discs.
Wow.
So they got like 8 or 9 translations of the series on it. It's awesome. The issue is that becomes so difficult to manage.
Yeah, you have to have somebody to proof it. That somebody's not writing something crazy.
And they actually we get fans in to proof. Well, that was the other cool thing is that they would also crowdsource the proofing. So they would have other fans look it over, which was brilliant. But then just authoring the discs became a really huge
issue. That can be tricky, especially with some of the more familiar tools. They're not always allowances for multiple subtitles, and then authoring it so that you can map the buttons so that you can do more than 3 languages. Yeah. Most discs you see maybe 3 languages at the most, but 8 languages. That's a lot of audio, or a lot of different tracks that have to go in there.
Yeah.
Kind of like audio.
So one of the things they said for the Kickstarter is basically they're not looking to translate it beyond English and Klingon. They said maybe that'd be nice, but you know, if folks really push for us, great. But we don't want to balloon the project too big with lots of these things.
It'd be fun to do something with like 80 languages.
Yeah, I know.
There's no reason you can't read this.
Oh, Yuki-chan. That's right. I forgot. There is another spin-off from Haruhi.
Oh.
That's. Is that finished yet? Actually, maybe. Let's see here. May. So we should be coming up on the end of that series pretty soon. I have not seen Bayonetta. Have you seen Bayonetta? No. Oh, it's a video game. That would explain it. Yeah, not familiar with that one. Yeah, I've seen the first like 2 or 3 episodes of Yuki-chan, and I really enjoy it. But then I'm a huge fan of that whole spin-off. So, it'd be interesting to see how what your perspective will be on the cast and who you'll like out of the cast, because it's a very distinctive set of characters. Oh yes, Masa. So the movie definitely helps to explain what's going on there. Lots of things happen in that universe. I feel bad because the author of the novels was writing the series and it was fine, and the anime series came out and it just exploded. Went everywhere, and people were frantic for it, and which meant that there were a whole bunch of different Haruhi projects. So the speed of writing the novel slowed down because she was dealing with all these different issues and all these different plot lines and so forth. So it's been a long time since we got a new Haruhi novel.
A victim of success.
Right, exactly. So that's been difficult. Bayonetta has an anime movie. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I still haven't seen it. So, Bayonetta, isn't that sort of a witchblade kind of a thing? You know, a girl in tight outfit, you know, fighting crime kind of thing? I should probably look it up before I speak any further. Bayonetta anime. Let's see some Google searches. Oh, this, yes. So yeah, kind of. So yeah, kind of. The girl with the glasses.
I think I dated her.
She has kind of a Baroness from G.I. Joe feel, doesn't she? Let's get over Baroness.
That looks like a fun one to check out.
Yeah, that was nice. Movies are nice too.
Yeah,
just watch the movie. Bayonetta bloody face. Okay, that's a hint. And now I need to minimize that because
my youngest nieces and nephews.
No, yeah, that looks like a more serious. Devil May Cry, hot girl. Okay, and pegged. Well done, Masa. That explains it very well. Cool. And the beauty mark. So I'm trying to think of video game to anime adaptations. Have you seen any?
Let's see. Did Final Fantasy had some CG stuff?
There's CG, Spirits Within, I think. There's the Street Fighter anime adaptation. There's like a couple of movies or something, which I know I saw like bits and pieces of on Sci-Fi Channel or something. I'm trying to think of another video game.
I know there have been a number of them. I just can't seem to recall to mind.
Yeah. Well, and there was a Final Fantasy TV series. Which everyone kind of tries to.
There was a TV series.
26-episode TV series, yes. No one really liked it much, apparently. I watched the first episode, and it was you know, generic fantasy fun stuff. But, I don't know. And I think, well, there was Popolo Claw, which is one of these little sort of fantasy RPG running around things, which I only know because I stumbled. So a friend of mine and I, at our first Otakon, we stumbled into a video room at like midnight. There's nothing else going on. We just walked in and we saw. Well, I should show you. We saw this. It was late at night. It's a dark convention, and we saw artwork like this. I saw this. And we're like, what the hell is this?
What's going on here? It's after midnight.
Yeah. Let's see if we can show this to folks.
It's a little cute for after midnight.
It was this very cute, and yeah, so it was these sort of super deformed, cute characters running around, and one of the girls is mourning the death of her people.
Ooh.
Very weird, dark stuff. But then there's also like, if we can see, they're also like talking vegetables. They're also like talking vegetable characters, and it's just really weird and light and goofy. And then suddenly it's not.
That's a big contrast.
It was very, very strange. So we tracked it down. It was adaptation of this sort of collection RPG thing where you wander around getting stuff.
I think if you've played the games and then you see the show, it makes more sense.
And that's the thing, is that, yeah, I think there's so many of these things where they're kind of made more for the folks who play the games, enjoy it.
If you come in blindsided by, I tried to follow that story. It was a little bit weird.
Exactly.
Great graphics, though.
Yeah, Final Fantasy Unlimited. That was the TV series. Thank you. That was the show, I think.
Hopefully we don't have any lack of electricity, but just in case we suddenly disappear, I have heard a little bit of thunder outside.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, we will see.
Gonna get the EPS back up.
Yeah, there we go. I'll just see if I have one sitting around somewhere. So video games, we've talked about at some point we need to do some video gaming. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Maybe get a segment.
Yeah,
video game.
Exactly. That'd be fun. So here's a question for you guys. If we were to get into like anime video games, and we wanted to pick a console for that, what would be the best console?
What's your favorite console? What's the best one for games? What's the best one for anime games?
And that's the thing, right? And I I don't know what the market is for those right now, and what's
Where's
big.
my Atari?
ColecoVision, ColecoVision all the way.
On here somewhere.
Do you really?
I think I might have a version of it.
Nice. So what did you grow up with?
I grew up with, of course, my buddy had Intellivision, and I had Atari, and all the handheld little, from the football game with the 4 different LEDs.
Yep.
I don't know how I ever imagined that was football, but somehow I did. And all the spin-offs of those. And there was even something before that that's a little bit tricky to find. It was a triangular console that used triangular cartridges.
Oh yeah, I've seen.
It was like a TriStar or something like that, and each side of the triangle had different controllers. So on one you had a steering wheel, and one you had the gun for like a million years. There it is.
Okay,
that's the one.
That's the one.
Oh my goodness.
The Coleco Telstar,
the Coleco
arcade game system.
And there were, I think, 2 or 3 different cartridges. I think we had.
Wow.
And then the other one was Pong, or
nice.
Depending upon which cartridge you had in Quick Draw, which is an early version of Duck Hunt, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
Road race.
How cool.
Before pole position. Before. That's another fun one.
Sure.
What's great is they've re-released a lot of old games as simulations.
Yeah.
And now, people can enjoy it even if they can't get a classic retro game. And, it's crazy. People would put these in yard sales for $1. And now people collect these.
Absolutely.
And they search them out. And it's not just this game system, but all game systems.
Yeah.
And they've had exhibits at the Smithsonian on the history of arcade games and gaming. And it's fascinating to study how it's progressed. And now there's so many different game design programs that are available for students and people who are interested in it.
Yeah.
It's really becoming more than just hobby pastime for a few people. It's become an entire industry in and of itself, with conventions where people can go to a Coliseum style adventure to watch people play.
Yeah.
The idea of being a professional gamer in my wildest dreams as a child have now come true.
But there's a Far Side cartoon about that, where they're a bunch of the 2 parents watching their kid, and they have visions in their head of a classifieds of $50,000 for the kid who plays a Duck Hunt, whatever. And actually,
it's come about.
All right, so PlayStation sounds like a good choice, but it has some loading issues. PS3 is region free, but only plays 3 games.
Regions.
Yeah, that's the other issue. Wario, fair enough.
That's too bad.
Yeah. Oh yes, I remember that. Okay, so a lot of importing for Nintendo. The Xbox is more American European markets. Well, good to know. Cool. Thank you all. And of course, we can always do some emulators for the time being. Yes. Yeah. That's the other amazing thing. You can get an emulator for everything. So cool.
That would be a fun show to do. Here's Intro to Emulators.
Yeah.
Your favorite game.
Exactly. Yeah. How do they work? This one better than the other. I built an arcade game cabinet a while back, and finding the right emulator for all these things, because this person developed this emulator for Nintendo, but then they stopped working on it, and so this one's under active development, but it's not as far along. It gets complicated.
The idea of games being region-specific, has that been around?
Yeah, quite a while. I think the consoles have always been region-locked. I'm not sure, though. That's a very good question as to. You guys probably know the answer to that better than I do. Was the Intellivision region locked? The Atari, ColecoVision, all that stuff. What was I'm trying to think. Like the first general, was it the Intellivision or the Atari, which was the first one that really was available over here?
Atari flooded the market around the same time Intellivision was around, but its structure was a little bit different. It had more of a touch interface with some of its stuff, and the 2600 was very durable.
Okay, yeah.
You could throw it at your brother, and you know,
Very important. Very important.
stomp on it, leave it underneath the couch, and the thing still worked.
Yeah.
For the most part. The ColecoVision, the television, I recall had a sort of a spiral wound controller that was tethered up close, and it didn't seem as robustly made.
Okay, I remember the ColecoVision what had it was solid but weird in terms of the interface and the controllers. Oh, okay, yeah. So the numpad. Yes, the ColecoVision had this issue because they had actually similar controllers, but an actual joystick. That's an actual stick there. Wow. But the stick was really cheap.
Yeah.
So it was very floppy and it would get all over the place, and you had little side buttons. So it was more like holding a phone, actually, which is kind of weird.
Oh wow.
Oh, interesting. So region locking started with the Japanese home consoles. So I guess like the Super Famicom, the original NES. Interesting.
I wonder if Eastern Bloc countries had
gaming good questions. Yeah.
It seems like such a Western and free world kind of concept. But I'm sure there must have been something.
Yeah.
Because every time one side did one thing, the other side would do something else, and that would be funny. The escalation of video games.
Yeah. So, shall we try a new show?
A new show? Let's try a new show. What kind of new show should we try?
So we're playing around with a new idea. I'm trying to figure out which ones of these is
Just wait, you guys. You're first in on this.
Exactly. So we're playing around with something new here. So you guys remember Brent's Anime News Corner, right? Bank. So what we're going to try to do here is exactly. So we want to do a news show, and to do that, we're going to try. I'm just going to log into these, make sure it's all taken care of. Anime news.
Oh, I didn't know that we're in the same region as Japan for Blu-ray. That's good to know.
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
finally, which is something good for the region.
Fabulous. Oops, that's the wrong one. I just typed the wrong one. That's all. I keep tapping things. Cancel. Oh, I'm offline. See if I can get to this thing, and then we're going to try this out. So, we're trying to bring back the news show. And I am now trying to pull that. Oh, I know what's going on. Exactly.
Coming in from around the world, in your neighborhood, and down the street.
Exactly. And I think I'm going to have to get on the Wi-Fi for this. Yes, thank you. And it's that. Is it? Is that the first one?
That's correct.
All right. Yes. And is that pulling it? Okay, that pulled it up. Good. I think I had that cached. So we're going to demo the that's fine. The news show here, but we just got to get everything in. And can you scroll down? Is it everything in there? There's a fair amount of stuff on there. Keep going. Good. Yeah, that's all. Ooh. Oh yeah, I've been having fun.
You're working hard.
Okay, so is that actually connected?
Nice.
Yes, it is. All right. So we're gonna try our little news show here, and we're gonna see. And I just but I'm not offline. See, that's the thing. Computer.
Technology is always fun.
Is it? I am.
When it works.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is quite some thunder we're having.
It is. Yes. So it's done.
You know, you guys may have the chance to see us electrocuted
live.
Very
exciting. Very exciting.
That would be fun. No, it wouldn't.
No, it wouldn't. Yeah.
It'd be fun for you guys. It wouldn't be so fun for us.
Whoa. Yeah.
Those guys, they went out and played
Praise glory. Okay, there we go.
Well,
make sure it's all lit
up. As of today, May 18th, 2015.
All right. Let me get. I'll have to go down.
Take a look at it.
Yeah, actually, let me refresh this. I may need to restart the. Yeah, we're way beyond this.
And now we're coming up to the part in the movie where we're in the movie.
Right.
In Spaceballs.
Can I? Oh, is that how I do it? Oh, good. I didn't realize that. But it is. But at least that shows us what's going on right now. Oh.
Let's see how long that takes.
Yeah. Okay, so that was you saying that
7
yeah,
seconds, 8 seconds, 9, 10.
And almost.
There's a little delay in our system.
Yeah.
That's good. In case I say something, somebody will not have the chance to bleep it out along the way.
Exactly. Cool. Okay. So just pause that so it's not killing our stream.
Game Boy.
Game Boys. Good old Game Boys. All right. So let's do the news.
Museum of video games.
Oh, I know.
They had a museum of pinball machines, and the place kept moving around because everybody wants huge amounts of money for rent. And it's all based on locations. So you can go into the middle of the sticks where you have low rent, but no one will come.
Yep.
Because they don't want to make the trip.
Yeah, exactly.
A news show. Horizons with Brent and Evan.
All right, so welcome to the news show Horizons for May 18th, 2015. North American licensor Animego is preparing a Kickstarter for a North American Blu-ray release of Otaku no Video. I should point out this is the anime Otaku no Video, not the channel Otaku no Video. It's very complicated. Yeah, not releasing me. The classic Gainax documentary is about otaku fandom in the 1980s. It'll be on Blu-ray for the first time in North America, and the set will include both episodes of the OVA, subtitled only, along with 2 commentary tracks by industry veterans. It'll also be region-free and will ship anywhere in the world outside Japan. Stretch goals will include new material drawn by Otaku no Video's character designer and Oh My Goddess mangaka, Kenichi Sonoda. If all goes well, the Kickstarter should launch in June. This will be Animego's second Kickstarter after their successful Bubblegum Crisis release in 2013.
A Japanese survey of 759 workers in the anime industry revealed, that is a lot, it revealed some hard numbers about animator salaries this week. The average anime studio employee earned about $27,000 in 2013. But that's across the industry, so so-called second key animators made only $9,000, while key animators made a mere $23,000. Even character designers only made $42,000. Topping the list, directors at $54,000.
And that's in like the most expensive city in the world.
Man, I don't know how these guys live. They must subsist on just ramen noodles.
Exactly. Virtual idol Hatsune Miku will be returning to the opera stage June 4th and 5th. The Dutch National Opera and Ballet in Amsterdam will host the opera called The End, which was created by artists Kiichiro Shibuya and YKBX. This is the 3rd staging of the opera, which has even featured Louis Vuitton outfits. And there's a documentary about it out there somewhere you can check out.
Funimation has announced a U.S. release for Mamoru Hosoda's next anime film, The Boy and the Beast. This film continues Hosoda's collaboration with the character designer Yoshiyuki Sadamoto.
Very good.
Funimation plans to release the movie theatrically in the U.S. later this year and in 2016. A Funimation vice president said of the film, "We're confident that critics and moviegoers will agree that this is an Oscar-worthy film." That's a lot to live up to.
Indeed. So thanks to AnimeNewsNetwork.com for all of those news items.
Thank you.
And moving on to upcoming conventions in the next couple of weeks. So we have Animazement in Raleigh. Should have about 7,000 attendees. They've got quite the roster there. So
wow.
Yeah, no kidding. So Shinichiro Watanabe, director of Cowboy Bebop. Kikugo Inoue, a voice actor. Toshifumi Yoshida, a translator. Crispin Freeman, Michael Center Nicholas. It's a lot of people. Great folks. That's pretty cool. And then up in Canada.
In Canada is Anime North in Toronto, Canada. And that's on May 22nd through 24th. They're expecting 30,000 attendees.
Wow.
And some of the folks that they'll have there, Asami Shimiota is a voice actor. Chie Nakamura, Chris Kaysen, and J. Michael Tatum, and Helen McCarthy, she's a writer, and Mike Toole, also a writer, and Neil Nadelman, translator.
And Helen McCarthy and Mike Toole did the Anime Encyclopedia, if you're familiar with that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I've got to get a copy of that.
There we are. Also, MomoCon coming up May 28th through 31st in Atlanta, Georgia. We'll have about 15,000 attendees. It was a little harder to find out who's going on there, but Crispin Freeman will be showing up at MomoCon. So that's pretty cool. And then upcoming Kickstarters, we already talked about the Otaku no Video thing. That should be pretty cool. So that's still in sort of beta, so it hasn't been released yet. So we'll let you know when that's actually out there. Moving on to upcoming releases.
Upcoming releases include releases from Funimation. Funimation has .hack//roots complete collection. And they're asking approximately $39, 93.98 cents, approximately. Also, Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040 complete collection.
Great show.
And I understand that's a classic. Gotta see that sometime. Well, what's this next one I see?
This next one is called Puchimas Petit Idol Master. So those of you familiar with the Idol Master anime series, which is sort of a pop idol series, this was a spin-off of that. So they're releasing season 1 with the OVAs for a $20 release, that's subtitled only. And then season 2 will come out also for about $20, subtitled only.
Sentai Filmworks is releasing Ninja Scroll, the motion picture DVD.
As well as Blu-ray, actually. And I'm looking down there. DVD would be about $15, and the Blu-ray about $25, which is not too bad.
Pretty reasonable price.
Yeah, and that's the repackage of the original release of Ninja Scroll, the motion picture. That typically means it's going to have the same content, same menus, all that stuff, just, you know, a new box, just so it's in print again. Yeah, so that's all the news for the week. Thanks all for watching.
Thank you for joining us on
Horizons. I'll have to do that every time.
MomoCon.
Modding. We're going to try to make it to Otakon and hopefully interview folks there, do some streaming or some video and that kind of stuff. So that is the plan. So that's a few months away. We have some time to plan. Yeah, we definitely like to do that.
Interviews would be fun. Speak into the microphone.
Oh, we have some fun ideas there. That'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, Otakon's close to us, and it's big enough that there's a lot going on. So it's a good choice for that. But then we are doing the con. So hopefully we'll be launching Kickstarter for that in the next couple of weeks. Well, actually, maybe this coming up week, we'll see. Yeah. You can void your warranty by modding like an SNES, but I mean, really.
I void warranties.
Yeah, exactly. Love that shirt. As Make Magazine says, if you can't take it apart and put it back together, you don't really own it. Yep.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that sort of format for the news? So kind of a couple of major headlines, upcoming Kickstarters, upcoming releases, and upcoming conventions. Is kind of the format we're looking at there. And totally open to options and suggestions.
Quick updates for everybody.
Exactly.
Oh, I forgot about the Oh, I gotta make it to that one last year. That was better than it is this year.
Yeah.
Darn it, I don't want to miss it again.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, that's the other question is, would it be helpful for us to kind of look at all the cons that get over, say, 20,000 people, and like every month say, by the way, 3 months from now, whatever, get ready for Otakon or what have you. That might be helpful. Yeah. If we do change anything, we do move forward, we'll probably expand each of those news items a bit to give you a little more context. That was just sort of test copy to get a feel for how we'd live read.
I can use some work.
Yeah, me too. But it's getting a feel for how much. It's actually interesting going back to the end because they'll give you a lot of content about show, like the Hatsune Miku thing. They'll say, and so this person is involved. This person has done this, this. And this show was released here. It was also licensed over here, and it was released over here. But it's not the context in the sense of, this show was super popular. It was based off this light novel franchise. It has these other things. That kind of thing would be kind of nice to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these will be separate videos. So one of the things we're talking about is whether we want to license, whether we want to. So we'll definitely keep on doing live streams, but we'll probably end up copying out just the Smoke and Mirrors content as a separate video and just the Horizons content as a separate video. So you can watch all of this stuff, or just Smoke and Mirrors, or just Horizons.
The longer term goal is it would be nice to set up a network.
Yeah.
And we would basically throw the news in there as a news segment, and go back to programming.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how that develops as we gather content and feedback. And move it more towards a show based on what viewers like to see.
Exactly. Yeah.
Of course, within limitations.
Right.
I can't show you all of Yamada's secrets.
and they're actually I don't, but there was a time when I owned certain anime that I would not want other people to see. So there's that side of it too. Yet I don't think Evangelion has English subs. I think Studio Ghibli is the only studio that does English subs on their official releases. I think actually there's one or two others, but it's very, very unusual. Might have been one of the Fates thing. I'm not sure. But, why would they subtitle it in English for Japan?
To learn English.
Well, there we go. Yeah.
I always like to watch in other languages after I've seen a show several times. And play it back. Suddenly, I've got the French version. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I remember a few of those words from French class.
I've had a few things where I've had to download them, and the only subtitle is Espanol. Oh, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna have to figure it out for Espanol. So yeah, so I think the idea is that licenses will stay on license check, and then releases will be set on Horizons, because releases is it's the same number of things, but we can cover the releases pretty quickly, whereas the licenses makes for a kind of more convenient chunk for license check. In other words, I think releases are actionable. If we say on the news, this is going to come out next week over here.
Get your credit card ready.
Exactly.
All you other, it's funny. You're an anime fan when you stop the middle of a conversation. Hold on, this has just been released. I've got to buy it now.
Have you ever seen that happen?
I might have seen that happen once.
So like last week, I was ordering Turn A Gundam in the middle of a conversation we were having, which is kind of silly. Oh wow, Black Rock Shooter had a bunch of different subs in different languages. That's cool.
7 languages.
Wow, that is crazy. Tiger and Bunny, thanks. That's what I was thinking of. Tiger and Bunny, they did English subs on their Blu-rays. And of course, the other one I was thinking of is Gundam Unicorn, which was one global release. So that was it. So yeah, so I think licenses is something where I can talk about it every month if you care. This has been licensed. It's coming out next year. That's great.
The licensing issue gets over into a little bit of the legal area, and we had been playing around with the idea of doing a show that discusses more of the legal aspects of anime and fandom, because there's a lot of different things within the legal system that are kind of gray areas and kind of not, and it would be fun to hear from industry professionals what their take is on it.
Yeah.
From people who are not industry professionals but are involved, sort of both sides of the coin that way. But we like to keep it in a news program so we can keep our sources secret should somebody prefer to tell us about their fan-subbing circle and they would like to remain anonymous.
Right.
Discuss with us a little bit of the inside of what really makes the gears turn.
Yeah. And we'd like to do a few kind of mini-series, if you will. So that would be a great example where there's certainly plenty to talk to, but we wouldn't do a weekly show for the next 3 years talking about legal issues necessarily.
No, it would be an episode or possibly a few different, and it all depends upon what you guys are interested in.
Yeah.
So just let us know. Do we have a website that we're directing people?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and make that live right now, so we can actually do that. So we now have an actual domain name, which like I said, I should make it work before I actually talk about it. Oh yes, that's a little hard to read now. And this is, all right. So so I need to actually. Okay, so I'm going to test this before I actually tell all you to go there, and then we will make sure. Where did that go? Oh, it's hidden. Okay, we'll do it that way. And actually, you guys can see it then. Yes.
The birth of the website. You hear thunder and lightning.
Exactly.
Because it's smoke and mirrors. But it is on.
It is on and it is working. So we now have. Oh, but I should probably hide a few things that aren't up yet. So I'll hide some of those things that haven't been released. But that's fine. You can just see because there won't be any episodes there. Exactly. Yes, you'll see some of the things we're working on.
Coming events.
Right. So geekspectrum.org is now our main website, and that's our, like we said, kind of our umbrella for all the stuff we want to talk about, anime and beyond.
So many subcultures.
It's amazing. It really is. So let's talk about cosplay and tech and
J-pop, K-pop. Not just Japanese animation, but world animation.
Yeah.
And then the makers movement. Cosplay spills over into folks who make things, and technology including gaming.
Yep.
And the Pi, building things, 3D printing, which overlaps with so many different things. And we can see what other subculture ideas come to mind as fandom grows.
Yeah.
And there's a whole world of fan fiction, and there's so many different genres that can be explored. And one thing that's interesting is local artists who are doing illustration, cartoons, anime, manga, and we might check out some of them and give them an interview.
Right. Yeah. We want to be inclusive, not just in the sense of kind of interviewing whatever, but of saying these are all passionate people with neat passions that we can learn more about.
It's fun to see the different areas where people express their creativity.
Yeah.
And having somebody local who does stuff, there's so many people who are doing creative things that you never really notice until somebody points them out. Hey, did you know about this? So we're hoping to maybe highlight some folks.
Exactly. Yeah.
See what folks we can interview.
Totally. And of course, with the internet and Skype these days too, there are lots of folks you can.
They can be across the country or in the backyard or right in the room.
Right. Yeah, I was so thrilled when I was able to interview Helen McCarthy. She was in England. She's like, well, we'll just do Skype and we can talk for an hour. Yeah, you can also find, if you go online, so talking about DVD importing, You can also find region-free DVD and Blu-ray players, which are manufactured for like Taiwan and other markets where, you know, they're at the nexus of lots of different regions. So folks will actually manufacture things. If they aren't region unlocked, they can be made region unlocked. So if you're interested in that, that's also an option as well.
And there's some good resources for finding if something's region capable already just from manufacturer.
True.
The tricky thing is we've been finding less manufacturers are making recordable DVD players now.
Yeah.
So that's something that we've noticed where manufacturers have changed their trend because so much is being done file-based these days. So caveat emptor.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's interesting. So Never Say Never Again is now, it's hard to find the US Blu-ray. You can get the European Blu-ray, which is in English and region free. So there we go.
Wow. That's an interesting distribution scenario.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that's going to change over the next, decade or two, because we're becoming a global village.
There was an effort that I'm not sure how far it got for a new idea called Ultraviolet.
Right.
And it was, I think, you buy the license to own the movie, and then you can have, I think, up to 4 different formats of it, and there was some scheme for having a key that would unlock it for whatever devices that you registered. It sounded a little bit complicated, but in theory, the idea seemed like a way that they were trying to deal with, come to a compromise between rights management and ownership.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, I always feel better when I have it in my hot hand and I can say, I've got it on the shelf here, pop, there it is, play. And sometimes when it's out there, I know that I can get it if I hunt long enough, or if I dig or log in enough times to the right spots, I can get to it. If they haven't taken it down, if they haven't changed it, or suddenly it's no longer in queue anymore because some executive decision.
We've all had that Netflix experience. No, what happened? Where is it now?
Wow, different versions.
Oh, interesting.
That's another fun thing.
Interesting. 007 is a whole world as well.
Yeah.
My gosh. Favorite Bond?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Something about Sean.
Yeah.
Have you read the books?
I haven't read the books.
I haven't. My parents read the books and said you've got to read the books, but I haven't never done it.
Better than the movies.
Apparently,
usually.
yeah. Well, they get more into like he gets married at some point, like she gets killed, I guess. So there's a bit more of that kind of stuff of having an actual life, which you don't get so much in a movie. But interesting seeing how much the Bond films have changed. Where when you look at the first few Bond films, like they're not the blockbuster special effects movies, even for the time. They were more sort of constrained films, and they're trying to be global, globe-trotting adventure stuff. But it wasn't, we're gonna travel to Monte Carlo in this scene and go over here in this scene and blow up this car and all this stuff. It's very different.
So Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Construction scene.
Right.
It's funny how when a franchise is just being born, there are a lot of those budgetary constraints.
Yeah.
But somehow things shine through and eventually pick up the momentum. And that's always exciting to see.
The Draft House Theater out in Loudon. Oops, I'm getting away my location. You know where we live now.
There's a draft house in Arlington also.
Oh, is there? Cool.
Cinema Draft House. Those are if you ever get a chance to go.
Yeah. Oh, they're amazing. So they did a thing where on the first Saturday, I think, of the night of each month, they showed each of the original 3 Mad Max movies.
Whoa.
So I went back and I watched, and so I went into, relatively few people showed up, but they all knew what they were there for. And going back to that first,
I know what I'm getting into.
Exactly. And going back to that first Mad Max movie, where it was just like you were saying, you know, they didn't have a huge budget, but they knew exactly what they were doing, and there's just a craft to that film that just really made it a very special experience. It was also fun because they aired it at starting at 10:30 p.m. So you get out of the theater watching Mad Max and it's midnight and you're driving home. That was dangerous for everyone involved. Oh yeah, and so exactly like what it is. For Haruhi, all the films versus the books versus all it gets complicated really quick. But for 007 as well. Yeah, and yeah, 007 is they certainly mind that for the films, but it's not the same.
Now there's some other areas of chronology that have holes in them, different genre. Doctor Who, the very early episodes were deleted.
Right? Yeah.
To save space, tape, and so there are holes in the chronology that people are just looking for somebody who's stored away an old copy for replay,
and they still come up
every now and then.
Yeah,
every now and then they find them.
Yeah, I watched one of the ones that they found and were able to mostly recover. This is amazing.
Historic.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of
video
crazy.
Archaeology.
Well, and they had that problem with Mystery Science Theater 3000 too, where they didn't delete them, but their first season on local cable access, actually no, UHF, I think.
UHF. Yes.
Yeah. They like they had tapes of them, but they were never going to release them. They were just sitting in a vault somewhere because the folks involved said we were crap at it back then, you know. So
we didn't want anybody to see this.
Right. So they were all figuring things out. So in fact, there's a project online called the Digital Archive Project where they found every fan they could find who had tapes of those episodes, digitized all of them, and put them online and said, we're going to make sure that these exist,
preserved for all
some
time,
download format, you know, so people can get them at some point. And they digitized every episode of Mystery Science Theater. They went back to Freaks and Geeks before that was released on DVD. So a lot of these shows where just nobody had done a release of, they tracked down like VHS copies back in the day.
That's
an interesting point. Yeah. So so money for the actors. That's always complicated.
Very.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Well,
I know they want to get paid.
Sure. Yeah.
At the same time, I wouldn't want to destroy the copy of what might get me paid in the future.
Right.
But then giving it away for free is you never get paid. So
right.
Maybe conventions if it gets paid.
Which, of course, back then, what's a convention?
Yeah. What's a convention?
Yeah. It's there's a lot of that back in the day, and then just destroying old film and old copies of things. Have I told you the Astro Boy story?
No. Astro Boy.
So Astro Boy is the first anime series, and it was licensed by NBC and released over here. They did a dub and they did it very soon after the show was released in Japan. So like it was airing in Japan, the later episodes, when they were releasing over here. So like they aired in 1963, January 1963, and we got it in like June of that year over here. Wow. So NBC was really on it, and they were producing it. By the time they were done and they had all the masters, so that one of the things they did back then is that the Japanese studio shipped the film, like the actual canisters of film of Astro Boy over to NBC.
The masters?
Yes.
Ooh.
So NBC could do their adaptation. So they did the dub. By the time they were done with the dub, the company had gone out of business in Japan.
Oh no.
So there was no one to forward it to. So they burned it.
No.
Yeah. So all the masters got put into a dumpster and set on fire. Now, getting back to our earlier conversation, folks had taped episodes.
Well,
so there wasn't a lot of that. No, 1963. So certain people had basically copied onto film and other things like that. But you go back and there are episodes of that that will air on Japanese television with the English dub.
Because they're
Film in Japanese. Yeah.
no
Because
other
that's
copy.
the only copy that exists. So a good chunk of Astro Boy, just that's the only version we still have is version. Again, back then it's like, and NBC's defense, they were like, we don't own this. Like, we can't keep this around because it's not ours to archive. Ship it back, so what do we do with it?
That is an incredible story.
Oh, it's so sad. It makes me angry. Well, and then, so you've seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yes.
I'm sure. So for those who don't, there's this thing in the film where cartoons are very scared of the dip. They're being dipped in the dip. These bad chemicals that get dipped in. That was real. That was a thing. When the animation studios found out that people were scavenging for cells in the dumpsters, they would chemically treat the cells to burn them beyond recognition.
The dip.
So the fans
really
wouldn't.
Exists.
It did, absolutely.
Oh my goodness, there's a bit of history to the fiction.
Absolutely. I have seen photographs of Jiminy Cricket cells that have been dipped and just burned, all crumpled, just destroyed. So this is a common thing. Animation will just get annihilated.
Nowadays, somebody says, "I'll buy the stock. I'll chop it into pieces."
Yeah, but that was the thing that was done. They were like, "No, we don't want anyone to have this."
Wow.
Wow. I have not seen Calvin Dyson or heard of Calvin Dyson. It's interesting.
I know that the destruction of film is something that was a common practice. At one point, I was working in a multimedia library, and when we had old training films that were past their prime, we had a special device, not just for cleaning, but for also the destruction of the films. So my job was to destroy it. I feel bad. Can't destroy, but it was part of the job to destroy them because they're past their useful. But the idea that they do that with entertainment is.
Well, and that gets to that point is that when you're working on some like training material, you don't want the old, outdated, bad version around for someone to stumble across and think, oh, well, this is correct. So you have to have that sort of archival.
That was just a cutting room floor piece. We didn't intend for release.
Oh, good. They do a featurette about how they grab various private collections for Astro Boy. Good. I'm glad there's more documentation about that out there. It was bad. Yeah, and Doctor Who suffered so bad. We could do a whole Doctor Who show. My goodness.
That would be fun.
That'd be a lot of fun. Go back to the classic Doctors. I did this project a while back where I said, okay, I'm gonna find a story for every single Doctor of Doctor Who. I'm gonna watch at least something involving each Doctor to get a feel for them. And I discovered, as soon as you hear there are 13 Doctors, like, okay, who are the good ones? Who are the cheesy ones? Who didn't work out? I like every single Doctor. There's something each one of them brings to the role that makes them really interesting.
Remember the long scarf?
Yes. Yep. Classic.
Whovians.
Yep.
Yes. You don't hear as much these days.
No, that's true. Yeah. Well, and the surprise of the rabid American fandom for Doctor Who.
Oh, with the newer releases, it just breathed new life into the franchise, and it's become a point of pride. Celebrating an anniversary recently. Was it?
Yeah, 50 years.
Anniversary about a year ago.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the longest running dramatic series, I think, in like the Western Hemisphere, something like that. So like they've been doing, I think there are a few like Asian variety shows that have been going on for 70 years, whatever. But,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's the history of broadcasting itself there almost.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy. Where we started this back in 1950, whatever.
Someday they'll say that about this show.
Exactly. Yes. Remember back then. They were using the internet. What even is the internet?
Somebody saved it. Here it is on this data disk.
Crystal.
It's crystal. Data crystal. It was transferred from a tape to a cartridge to a disk. Crystal.
And now we're all back to cartridges again. 200 years from now. Yeah, it's a shame that all that footage is gone. And all the old children's shows and such that just
it's funny. Some shows I loved as a kid, and I go back and sometimes they hold up over time, and sometimes they fall so hard. And I say, what did I see in this as a kid?
Right.
But of course, my palate, this many years later, has been. I've been consuming better and better quality programming, at least technically and special effects wise. And so I always have to remind myself to, oh, this was created on this date.
Yeah.
There weren't the technologies. There wasn't the cell phone. Okay, I'll let my imagination go a little bit more with this than I ordinarily would.
Yeah. So what are some of the shows that you love that haven't held up so well?
Oh, I don't want to give them, but a lot of things in science fiction.
Yeah.
Science fiction is an interesting creation because some of it is predictive and it comes true. Some of it is predictive and it does not come true. And I'm still waiting for my jetpack and my helicopter car to work. And the ideas are there. The practicality isn't. The idea of using some of the communications devices that they have, seeing a big old CRT monitor in a spaceship now feels very dated since we've gone to flat screens. So a lot of my perspective of, okay, this is a science fiction, it's based in the far future, and they still have these old monitors that I wouldn't use in my garage right now, but are available everywhere on the ship for their vital communications. Okay, well, perspective, okay, yeah, CRTs do exist.
Well, and also, like, there's a lot of science fiction that is, what we say, proscriptive, where they're trying to predict a future that they want not to happen.
Yeah, oh, those are fun. the dystopia.
Yeah.
After the bomb goes off and everybody becomes cannibals. Survival of the sneakiest.
Interesting. I did not know that about the Ninja Turtles series. They missed some episodes of the show.
Was that I wonder if that was a decision or if it was an oversight.
Interesting.
You'd think that somebody would be really diligent.
Yeah.
That was really popular in the 80s, and the whole comic book area of that kind of spawned the animation. I'm surprised that any of that would be overlooked.
Yeah, interesting. Wonder what would happen.
Find them. Wow.
Yeah. Huh.
Steve's got him in his garage. Oh, his wife kicked him out.
It's
they moved some of them here. The kids took the others. Who knows where they are?
There's a documentary. I'm going to forget the name of it, but it's about one of the big film archives out there, and they have all of these stacks of 50-degree climate controlled films, and they talk about things like, oh great, you have this copy of Wizard of Oz, go get it. Like, no, you don't understand. Like, this film was last unfurled in 1959.
Chemical process.
Exactly. And so just going back and trying to, and also the fact that they said a lot of things weren't labeled well. And so we stumbled across
in a magic marker.
And so there's a constant process of going back and verifying what they have, making sure that you're getting in new stuff, seeing what it is. It's complicated.
That would be a fun show to do. Visit the Library of Congress in Culpeper. They've started a huge facility in Culpeper to digitize everything. Wow. And they're in a race against time to transfer things over because they want to have it in the highest quality that they can with the least amount of loss.
Yeah.
And so some of the film is a very volatile format. It's flammable. And it's like having TNT if you have a bunch of these films in an area. So they have to be very careful and section them off so that if one does catch fire or deteriorate to some of the mold, they smell like vinegar when they start to get really bad.
Really?
And there's different materials that they use, but that's one of the telltale signs of old film. And the potential for these things to just burn out of control is very high. And they had this happen with one of the studios out west that was, I can't remember which, I want to say Warner Brothers? I'm not sure. Somebody had a stockpile of them and they just they're gone.
Yeah.
There is no more. Fortunately, the Library of Congress, in the early days, they wouldn't copyright a film on film itself. They wouldn't accept it as a submission. And so the Library of Congress said anything that's in print on paper, they'll accept. So what early film manufacturers would do is they'd print out a spool of paper like a film, and they'd have print each cell on it. To this day, some of those are the only remaining copies of old films because they'd submitted it for copyright.
That's amazing.
And so now the Library of Congress is very carefully scanning all these ancient paper scrolls of film shots. It's a fascinating subject.
That's so cool.
As a historian and film buff and anime, thinking of all the animation dating back to the early days of.
Well, I think I mentioned this at some point that the Great Kanto earthquake of, I think it was 32, burned every animation made in Japan up to that point. It's just, you know, it was all lost. I mean, what do? You know, there's massive earthquake and fires everywhere. It's all gone. It
is a bunker, actually, Masa. It was a facility that was designed to be used in the case of a nuclear war. And it was one of the few locations that the government owned that was designed to reestablish the economy of the East Coast of the United States should a nuclear war occur. So they had vaults that were climate controlled and very thick walls. And at some point, the facility came into the hands of the Packard family of Hewlett-Packard. And the Packard family made the second largest donation to the U.S. government when they donated it. And the Library of Congress used it, has moved all their media services down there. So they have all the film and old radio and television. And some of the formats that they receive submissions on are so antique or obscure, they have to reinvent the wheel basically to play some of these things. For example, they have some submissions of Native American language and discussions, and they were recorded on some 7-channel audio system that doesn't exist. So they had to recreate it just to play it back to hear Native American languages. And there are languages in the world that are now disappearing just because their technology and world communication have made it less practical to speak these smaller languages by smaller populations. So it's just not being passed on.
There's a thing that I think it went up on archive.org. Somebody found a recording of a rebel yell. Somebody in like 1903 had gone to like one of the last Civil War what do you call them, reunions of actual Civil War soldiers.
Wow.
And they recorded Confederate soldiers doing an actual rebel yell.
Oh, wow, a piece of history.
Exactly. And they said one of those things, and similar kind of thing, where it was recorded on some kind of, it wasn't even a wax cylinder, it was just something that they had at the time, and somebody finally, like last year, was able to decode that and build the stuff to actually put in. There's now like a WAV file up on archive.org of it.
Archive.org.
Yeah, I know. But all this stuff that could disappear otherwise. Good question. Do they preserve films other than the ones that are worth preserving? That's a good question. I don't know.
I'm not sure about the National Film Preservation Foundation. I know the Library of Congress has copies of everything that gets submitted. And usually there's a copy that a lot of places will submit a copy to the Library of Congress and the National Archives. I'm not sure what the copyright process is, but it may be involved when you go for claiming copyright, that part of the submission process includes sending it there. But I do know that pretty much anything that's released in modern times is sent there for preservation, and they have very strict measures on requirements because they don't want it suddenly being leaked out to the library. Nobody has to go and see the movie or buy it. So there are certain stipulations, but they do preserve pretty much everything that gets copyrighted. Older stuff is as people submit it. So sometimes there are original masters that are better quality than the submissions that they have.
Interesting.
And sometimes those come into their hands. Of course, before this was mandated, recording everything, it was the large studio networks which would have collections. And so as folks realize, hey, we don't want to put all these in the dumpster, so some wonderful pack rat will stick them in his garage, or somebody says, okay, well, we'll hold on to these internally for a few years and use them as stock footage or something, and sometimes those make their way.
Yeah. So, interesting.
But they are trying to preserve it for pretty much the life of the United States, and then 20 years beyond that. So there are a lot of measures to get the highest quality, because garbage in, garbage out. When you start with high quality, you end up with high quality. And then there's error correction, because every time the technology changes, they're going to try and change as little as possible, but they're going to try and make sure no new errors get introduced into the, you don't want to Xerox of the Xerox of the Xerox. Eventually you can't even read it. Xerox is branding. Photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. And so there are efforts to put in all sorts of special checksums and use the highest quality recording. Not that I work there or anything, but if you ever get a chance to visit the place, it's a fascinating place.
I know they have, to your question, Liquidus, as far as I know, and I don't know a lot about the subject, but I don't think there is a Japanese governing body equivalent to the Library of Congress doing this. I do believe there are one or two Japanese film preservation societies that do that, kind of like our National Film Preservation Foundation. So there's a private foundation to do that. But this is a problem I know for movie props.
Oh, movie props. They take up a lot more space than films.
They do. I was actually just down at the National Geographic Museum today, which is pretty cool. And because they're doing they've got a special right now on Indiana Jones. So they have stuff from all 4 films. They have the Ark of the Covenant. They have the little idol. And they show little clips of that. But they got stuff where it's like, where do you keep that Ark of the Covenant?
You almost need a warehouse just to
a really big warehouse. But yeah, and for so long, so many of these things were kept in some prop guy's basement when they were done with the production, and it's been sitting there for 50 years. There's a guy in California, Bob, what was his last name? And he got into sci-fi prop collecting back in the 50s because he was just a kid who enjoyed it. And he would just kind of walk around to the various studios and just kind of hang around. And when they were done with films, can I have that? Can I have that? Sure. So he collected this huge collection of props.
Goodness.
He has nerves from the day the Earth stood still.
Oh.
He actually has an Ed Wood flying saucer.
Ed Wood.
Amazing.
Fuzzy Angora sweaters.
He has like a Gremlins, all this various stuff. Again, otherwise he'll go in a dumpster.
He doesn't get that wet, does he?
Yeah, I hope
I'm
not.
sure he doesn't feed it after midnight.
And it's that issue, and especially these more complicated things. Like they had the skeletons of the Crystal Skull, and it's 8 feet tall.
It must take a lot of space to store his collection.
Right. So what do you do? Well, that's the thing, Masa. That's why the Library of Congress says if you submit it to us, we preserve it, and you just got to get it to us in some way.
It's a little trickier with props because they don't preserve those.
Right.
So the film itself, they do.
Yeah, it's the film they preserve, but yeah, props are just catch as catch can. It's one of the reasons why Adam Savage collects so many of the props that he does. He got Mythbusters.
It's kind of funny. I've seen the Time Machine
used
in several places. I've seen Carl Sagan sitting on it in some photo op, and of course we've seen it on Big Bang Theory when the guys buy it. But it's funny, some of these props seem to circulate for a number of years because it must be tricky owning a huge prop.
True. Well, and I'm sure there are also multiple versions of some of the props. I know, like Indiana Jones' hat, there are a bunch of those because they needed a bunch of different copies of it. And then there were other things, like Muppets. They've gone through dozens of gonzos over the years.
Just preserving the foam, I heard, breaks down. Like an old couch cushion, eventually it starts to particularize, and then it doesn't hold the same shape, and it's tricky preserving those.
And hence, I believe the Henson Company owns the only manufacturers for the particular fabric that goes on a Muppet.
Oh, wow.
So they found somebody like in England who makes this particular fabric, and they said, we want you to work for us now. And so they basically bought this person out, and the only place in the world you can get this, because it's a very specific kind of fabric that you can wrap very easily, but just has kind of that fuzziness, you know, that kind of works well.
Somebody's retirement is based all around Muppet fuzz.
It's tie well, it can color. I mean, all these different. It was one of those things where it was such a headache to find the right kind of fabric. Like, we need to find somebody who has all these qualities and just lock it down.
It's become a big issue with art preservation. Some of the artists who have created exhibits that include televisions. The televisions are CRTs. They're not making those anymore.
Yeah.
And do you keep a display there, or do you keep the CRT there when it stops working? How do you stay true to the artist's intention so that future generations can enjoy the exhibit? There have been a number of people who've done multimedia contraptions, and they've incorporated their old technology. Eventually, it's going to need some upkeep and maintenance as it begins to fail, and it's a big question in the art world. What will keep the original intent, and how long do you preserve certain things? So it is a possibility.
Yeah, that's tough. Machine Muppet, yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's but then of course the other issue with preserving stuff is that it takes space. It takes, you know.
I've run into that. I can only preserve so much stuff because my family members want to walk around the kitchen. I can't have it stacked with things.
Yeah. I'd love to see what the Library of Congress's digital storage system is. I mean, I sure hope they don't have one copy on one hard drive any given thing.
They have a number of different ways that they store it. So a lot of the technologies that are being used for storage now include LTO tapes, but I'm not sure that the Library of Congress is using those. I'd have to check.
What are LTO tapes?
LTO tapes. So the funny thing is, we've gone through these cycles of we use videotape, and now we use discs, and now we have lots of data on these discs, and now we need to do something with the data, so we're going to put it back to a tape.
Yeah.
And there's a benefit of that, but again, it's a magnetic medium and subject to magnetic fields. And the refinement of the way that they make these magnetic tapes now has improved, and every year they get a successive progression. Moore's law, of course, allows for that, and of course there's going to be a limit to it, but they can get some pretty high density tapes now. And so these are some examples of LTO tapes, and they have several different generations. I think LTO 4 is been in common use for quite a while now. I think LTO 5 and 6 are the direction that most people are moving towards. And they can hold multiple gigabytes per tape, like 400, 800, compressed, and they're machines to play it, and it's a slower. It's what they call nearline storage. So it's accessible, but it's not instant like a disk or a series of disks, which can pull faster than a single disk, because you can pull a little bit from this one, this one, this one, this one, all at the same time. So a lot of times the information on those LTOs will be sent back to a hard drive if it needs to be accessed, or a section of it will.
Gotcha.
And so it does make it retrievable. But then again, there's also checksums and things to triangulate to make sure that it's maintained its integrity. If a flaw gets introduced when it migrates to a newer medium, hopefully those checksums are deep enough that it can counter that and say, hold on, error. And then they have to go back and cross-reference it.
Gotcha. And of course, then you have a problem of how do you have your checksums correct? Where do you store the checksum?
How do you keep the checksum correct? That's another good issue. So it can get very tricky. You carve it in stone to make it last forever, and hope that stone isn't sandstone.
That was an amazing thing of this thing. So they would alternate between Indiana Jones and a real archaeological project, and they had their stone maps. So somebody took a chunk of stone and carved a map of I think.
Oh wow!
And with little cuneiform letters in there of street names and things on there. It's crazy thinking that that's what you do with stone, and you do a map on it.
Carved in there.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, and you know, Masa, I'm one of those diehard people. I mean, I don't do it to other people, but I had the raw video of every video I ever did. So I keep archives of all that stuff.
The tricky thing with disk and tape is, as information gets more and more dense and you can fit more and more in a smaller space, if the medium gets damaged, the same
More
scratch
stuff,
on a DVD ruins as on a CD. And so it's important to follow some of the standard practices for preservations. Usually you'll have 3 different formats, 3 different copies in 3 different locations. So if a player eats it, if a natural disaster burns it down, if somebody steals it from the archive, there's usually something to go back on. Doesn't guarantee, but it reduces the risk, and it's all about risk mitigation at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it when I find this really great YouTube video and then it's gone. I can no longer find it, removed for whatever purposes, and that's a little bit frustrating. I wonder does YouTube keep an original of all these
question.
things?
Who knows? I mean, that's up to them.
Even if it's copyright, I would think that they'd still want to preserve it. So if there were ever any proceedings,
I think I read that they keep it. It's kind of like how Facebook does things. They keep the data around for some length of time, but after 6 months or so, if there's been like a copyright violation and no one contests it, whatever, then eventually it gets deleted.
Well, I thought Facebook kept everything, but just didn't make it public.
Well, so
Did
Facebook,
they change their policies?
Facebook claims that they keep everything for some length of time. I think it's a year or something. So then if you try to come back, it will delete some of the stuff. But they may, I don't know.
At some point in the past, I remember encountering somebody from Germany who was really, this is a big deal here, and you can write to, or you can talk to Facebook and ask them for what all they really have.
Oh yeah.
And so I went and requested the Facebook, and they had all sorts of things that I no longer had available, but they had kept the record.
Okay, so if you delete your account, if you close and shut down your account, they will keep all that data for some length of time. But if you delete something on Facebook with an active account, they will keep it. So it's not until you actually shut everything down for some length of time.
I don't want to commit Facebook aside.
It's one of the things that folks are kind of find intriguing about Facebook. Is like, wow, so everything's still there all the time. Yeah, you know. And to be fair, you're dealing with a lot of 15-year-olds who delete something. Oh no, wait, I want it back. I didn't mean it. You know. So, Power Rangers fan films. Yeah, I've had. Well, we had the one video get taken down. I don't think I've ever had another video get taken down for copyright. Like some have been flagged, where they just say, look, you can't advertise with this, and we'll put other people's ads on them, and then we'll pay the artist. But other than that, I don't think I've ever had a video taken down per se.
Wow.
Oh no, I take that back. I had a few live streams where I streamed anime, and somebody flagged that for something.
Now that's YouTube.
That's YouTube.
Should we do a private event?
That would be different.
That would be different. Now, private events are private. How would anybody know?
Exactly. Yeah, that there are many things we'd like to do on that score. And of course, we did do the Classic Club with the private hangout. That worked, but just 10 people at a time. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, copyright owners can be definitive. They just come in and say, nope, you can't have that anymore. Yeah, that is their right.
How does fair use come into play? Is that still
so fair use?
Or?
So there are a couple of issues with fair use. Fair use was designed as a protection for certain kinds of artistic reuses of existing work and for educational purposes. And it was designed to be vague. So the idea was they basically said, fair use exists, it can happen, but it really needs to be resolved on a case-by-case basis because there's no way you can write a law that has a clear boundary between fair use and non-fair use. So that becomes an issue online where I use some chunk of things, the copyright owner can still come in and say, nope, that's not fair use, we decided it isn't. I could go to the court and I could go through all that process and they could say, no, it's fair use, you're absolutely right, and you're bankrupt. You know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of that balancing act. And the problem is for the distributors like YouTube, if a license owner comes in and says, take this down because it's not fair use, it's not in their best interest to fight for YouTuber number 98359. So
no offense, YouTuber
98359. Exactly. Like me. So you know, it's one of those things where fair use should protect you for the kind of resamplings that we've talked about. It's meant to say, okay, if you're pulling a little something, and generally speaking, like if you're at a conference and you throw up a shot of Pokemon, no one's gonna give you any.
If you play the Pokemon music,
ooh, it's a whole other. Yeah, it depends.
It seems like they lean towards enforcing audio more than they do.
Well, audio is easier to parse. It's easier to run an algorithm that will match audio than it is video.
And I've seen a few videos where people have inverted and made a mirror image to confound the YouTube algorithm that
Yep.
So
that can work. Or they'll do like picture-in-picture, so they'll have a frame around it.
Interesting.
There are ways around it, but then that becomes an arms race. At some point, the algorithm will figure out the mirroring, and But remember when Craig Ferguson ended his talk show, he said, "Fortunately, I rest in the fact that all my work still exists on the internet on YouTube somewhere. Somebody's uploaded all the episodes. They're sitting up there, and they'll just keep on cycling through. It's kind of true." I heard a bit about Nintendo and streaming games and showing clips and so forth, but apparently, again, I just heard about it. To me, it sounds like storm in a teacup.
Had they prosecuted or just demanded take it down?
Yeah.
You can play the game. You can't watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's again, like I say, it's kind of it's tough. I've spent a lot of time staying as far of the copyright fair use line just so that my videos don't get taken down, that I have a difficult time empathizing with people who are skirt the line closer.
It does get tricky.
But yes, it can get tricky. It's difficult. That is something that, if you want to try to do it, then
what's even trickier is there's an entire network dedicated so that people can stream games
Yeah.
and watch each other's play.
Yeah.
And that was one of the larger uses of internet streaming in the past few years. It's become such a trend.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure how the content owners, the intellectual property owners, are dealing with that, because as a private network, is that considered then performance? Because these are games, yet they wouldn't be behaving in the same way that they would if the person wasn't playing them, just like an instrument. Well, if I have a Stradivarius or an Ibanez guitar, can they say you can't put Ibanez front and center in your concert? Well, you know, I am not Ibanez, but I think I can use it for performance. Why should I get in trouble with Ibanez for promoting their guitars by my performance? Is my performance that bad? Why would they want? So
well, and the other side of that coin, again, from a little I've heard, is that because video games have become so cinematic, they become so much about that linear storyline that folks are concerned, because you can just watch the gameplay, find the storyline, and you don't have to play the game. So there's that kind of sidetrack. Oh no, it's okay. Oh, didn't hear what we were talking about. What were we talking about?
We were talking about well, there's a gaming network where you can stream your gaming and other people can watch. Yeah. And it's very similar to an artist with an instrument. A good gamer can make a game just incredible to watch, just like a good musician can take an instrument like a violin or a guitar and make it sing. Yeah. And is the owner or the manufacturer of the instrument the person who can really say, no, you can't have a concert because I'm the manufacturer of the instrument? Or do I have to cover up the name because I'm using the instrument? Well, at some point, these people are virtuosos who are playing these games, because I can never get to those levels. And they demand such a following that they can actually get an arena where people will come to watch. Yeah. So it seems that there's a level of ownership that's different with games. And Brent brought up the important point that there's a sort of a blurring now between game and cinema, because there's a whole way, there's all sorts of dialogue and animation that goes to these things, and it kind of giving away the punchline to the joke if a person watches it, because you kind of see what's going to happen. All the levels. I don't need to play the game. Let somebody else make it to all the levels. Why should I buy it now?
And I mean, John Deere, fucking my chickens up. Okay, cool.
That's funny.
John Deere now wants to make its engine designs so proprietary that taking apart one of its engines would be a crime.
Whoa!
So they're
do not mess with black box.
Right.
It is inside black box. Do not taunt black box. Do not touch black box.
and their argument is, we have engineers and we have patented processes in these things, and if you aren't trained on those things, we don't want to be held responsible for you messing something up. So when you buy a John Deere tractor, their argument is, they haven't put this in the court or anything, their argument is you should not be allowed to tinker with that engine because you don't know what you're doing. Wow. I disagree, but it's an interesting, that's another copyright question.
Is that the same path that I'm not going to name a particular software company, but is that the path that a lot of software companies have gone down, where you can own it, but you can't lift up the hood and tinker with the engine?
Yeah, it's the whole idea of closed source. Is we retain all of the code that actually makes it run. You just get the compiled version of it. Well, again, like with fair use is an intentionally vague law. You cannot pin that down that easily. And by the way, you will come across many people who are not lawyers who will tell you how fair use works. Be very cautious if somebody tells you they know how fair use works. Which is why I'm saying what I do know is that fair use is broad, and none of us can nail it down. So be careful to when you hear folks try to say what fair use actually is. Fair use exists, and folks do have the ability to do that. But saying, and especially this is one of the other issues, that folks will say, well, this rap song uses this much content, and so that's how much content you can use in anything else you use. Not necessarily. It depends on the context. It depends on, so it's complicated.
Even having the written law, they still bring things into court. So no matter how clearly they have it written out, there's points that can't be written out because it would take more books to describe everything in infinite detail. And so the courts play their role in trying to decide that. So it's better to err on the side of caution for the most part.
There's a great example of this, and now that we're past midnight, I can talk about this topic. So you see it in obscenity law in America versus Japan.
Oh.
So over here, judges very clearly said, and famously, I can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it.
Oh, wow.
So, nudity doesn't mean pornography. Sex doesn't mean pornography necessarily. Depends on how it's, presented.
What would he say about Yamada?
I know. This went through my mind. Whereas Japan said, if you can see genitalia, it's obscenity. And it can't be, broadcast. It has to be restricted and so forth and so on.
It's tricky.
It's very tricky because you have a couple of things happen. A, every pornographer immediately put a black bar across the genitals, and boom.
You mean everybody doesn't have black bars?
No, and then secondly, it meant that a legitimate film just couldn't show that at all in any way, shape, or form.
Even artistic. Oh, I got out of the shower, I walked over here, I got shot. Well, no, you can't show that.
Right. And so so the advantage of the American model, which obviously has its problems, is that then you can go on a case-by-case basis and you can say, look, this is clearly artistic. This is, look at it. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Whereas in Japan, it's much more mechanical. It's, and much less flexibility in terms of proving if it's obscene or not.
But even the trickiness of having the bar has become sort of a nebulous legal issue because what size bar? How opaque does it need to be? Is it just to say that there's a bar there and you can make out everything else around it?
I think we've all seen what they call pointless censoring.
Pointless censoring. I'm doing this just to pass the censors and...
Yeah, well, and famously, the reason why we have tentacle porn is because a tentacle is not genitalia. It is, so you can show that on screen. Different kind of tentacle, and so that can kind of make its way past the censors. And so the issue with the free advertisement argument, which I generally agree with, is that there are also cases where, it's an advertisement, but it is also cannibalizing sales. So we've seen cases where, there are lots of free streams. Yes, everyone knows about it, but no one's actually buying the freaking thing. So that's an important thing to discover about that. If people are complaining about that, you got to look at sales and see have sales spiked or sales off. Do they have an argument for why that availability is an issue?
I was just thinking about that. If we showed clips from the shows that we're showing with audio, at what level would they say okay, and what level would they say, well, that's too much? Because I'm sure that the distributors of the US like free advertising. They like people purchasing. At the same time, they don't want to give away the house for free, the milk for free, so to speak. And so finding a careful balance where we can still have the freedom to show everybody and talk about it. It's almost like a book club.
Yes,
in some
exactly. A very big book club.
Very big book club.
Well, and anime is a great example of that, where fan subs brought us in so much. Fan subs brought in so much advertisement for anime, where so many people were watching anime, they weren't buying it. So, you know, like the reality is, and again, I'm not anti-fan sub. I'm not saying it destroyed the industry or anything. People get very sensitive about that. But you know, the reality is that fan subs brought in a lot of fans, but not paying fans in general. And sales dropped precipitously when all these fan subs came in because people could get it for free. And why would they buy when you get it for free? So you got to find that balance. You know, you got to say, okay, yes, it is good to get the name out there, but it also has to be accompanied by some way of supporting the industry financially. And someone's got to pay the bills. What was it? There was something where people were I don't think it was even anime, where it was hugely popular, and folks were making that argument like, yeah, and sales are just, you know, down there. It's not selling at all. So it happens.
There are a few cases where things were given away free, and it did nothing but fuel the fandom fire and generate more money. Not necessarily in this genre, but the Grateful Dead, for example, for years have allowed, well, I mean, when they were around, allowed people to tape their concerts for free. Now, the quality of recording is left to the quality of the gear of the person who's recording it, and how close they can get, what mixes, if they can get a tap from the board or not, the sound console. And live is very different from a studio. That being said, supposedly people wouldn't have to come to a concert, they could listen to it. But it's a completely different experience being there live in person. So there was a little bit of added value. And you hear stuff that's not in the studio album. So there was a balance. And people enjoyed the shows so much, they'd not only tape it, but then they'd come to the concerts, they'd buy the studio album, and they'd be able to listen to it. And they ended up making so much money, it was unbelievable.
and the other side of that coin too is that's the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, they have a whole other side to them. Yeah,
it's like when Radiohead published an album and said you can pay what you want for this album.
How did that turn out?
Very well, because they're Radiohead.
Now Stephen King did something like that, didn't he?
He did.
He had a novel that he was releasing a chapter at a time to avoid piracy.
Yeah, I think that did well for him. But again, Stephen King. So
Stephen King. If you have enough mass, you've got the momentum. If you don't,
and then like the other side of that coin, there was a guy who wrote a science fiction novel, could not get any interest in it, and so he recorded himself reading it and published it as a podcast.
Ooh.
And that made the podcast circuit. People started listening to that, and of course, then that meant even when it was done, you always go back and listen to it. I mean, that doesn't make it not be there. And he's able to parlay that into a book deal. He's now I say successful author. I mean, he's not rolling in dough, but he's got books coming out. So he was able to parlay that uniqueness. He wasn't getting paid for that, but it was able to generate interest.
Wow.
So sometimes that can happen too.
Crowd draws a crowd.
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Slump was released in English. I have seen that. I did not realize there's a Dr. Slump TV series. I'm surprised we haven't gotten it yet. No, I know I don't have it yet because there's a lot of that sort of raunchy material in it. So it's hard to justify licensing a 200+ episode TV series that has that much content. That's going to be kind of hard to sell. Well, not hard to sell, but hard to make
as a niche audience.
Yeah, very specific audience. But I mean, gosh, Dragon Ball Z. You know, say that it was by the guy who did Dragon Ball Z, and you're golden.
Our podcast by the guy who did Dragon Ball Z.
There we go. And I don't think Dr. Slump has ever been licensed over here. I think it was licensed in Europe somewhere. I think I recall reading that. There are almost certainly fan subs though. If you want to track that down, just to be able to at least understand what's going on. That'll be actually interesting to find out, see how that worked out. And that would have been in the 80s, 1980s. So pretty early on by modern standards.
And a couple of
So Evan found some awesome old stuff. Project A-ko, which I'm sure some of you. I think I showed Project A-ko on one of the classic clubs because that was so much fun. Let's go back to the live shot so we can see them there. So Lock the Superpower and Project Echo. They're both really fun 80s. I think Lock was 80s. Not sure. It looks could be 70s.
84.
84.
Nippon, 1987 Celebrity Home Video.
Okay, there we go.
Only 3 years to come up and see.
Yeah, not bad at all by anime standards. So there we go. Yeah, so those are some classics. I was telling Evan earlier that Project Echo was originally meant to be hentai, but they decided to go legit for a bigger audience. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. You'll see some vestiges of that if you guys ever watch Project Echo. There are a few sexy scenes, but it's certainly not explicit. It is kind of funny though. I almost bid on there's a shot of one of the near the beginning of the main character waking up and walking around her room, and she opens the curtains and the light shines in, and she's wearing like this not transparent shirt, but it becomes transparent in the light. I got a chance to bid on one of those cells once. It came out for auction somewhere, and unfortunately it was more expensive than I was going to pay.
VHS.
Yes. I was actually just looking through anime cells just last night, the anime cell market on eBay, and there's still a lot of stuff out there. They're actually selling a good number of pencil sketches from recent series now. So they don't have cells obviously anymore. You can at least get the pencil sketches of.
What do you think was the latest cell that was somebody released? Because as the transition to digital came
about. Well, I know the last anime that was all cell was Freegan, the movie. Because they said, we're going to make this all cell. It's going to be the last gasp of full traditional cell anime. Yeah, which it was. I know Serial Experiments Lane was part digital, part cell. So it was around, I would say, 2000 was when cell died out. I don't know. I don't know when the last one was. And of course, the other thing too is that probably for a few years there were still enough studios where they'd farm out this one sequence to a small studio that was still using cells. So 98% of the show would be digital, and then the few done by that one studio would be cell. So there's still a lot of that scattered around.
We had to do a cell series.
We should, yeah. I can share some of mine.
Play some soft cell in the background.
Here we go. I have. Yes, Echo is available on DVD. The DVD releases of Echo do not look legit, so don't worry too much about that. Back in the day, there have been a few releases of Echo. There was a recent like save edition of Echo, which has like all of them. There are like 4 Echo movies, so it has all of them on that one release. Let's see here. Yeah. Oh, you probably saw my Google Plus post about that. So, okay, I'll have to show you guys. Yeah, we're gonna do this. We may get taken down. I don't care. So, back when Sailor Moon first came out in America, I'm sorry, in Japan. There it is. Saban tried to bring it over, but they decided instead of actually licensing the anime series, they were going to remake it as an American series. And this is what they pitched. I know this song so well. I've watched this so many times.
It's interesting that we're watching a screen of a screen of a screen of a screen. There's somebody in the background laughing about this.
Yeah.
So live action.
Live action intermingled with American animation.
Wow.
And
yeah. How are they gonna?
I don't know.
They had a plan?
I don't know.
Wow.
it is remarkable for, as far as we know, this was the first attempt. Oh, I'm sorry, this just looks so cheesy. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I just, oh my God. Yeah, great. And of course, fashion, because we got to have fashion in a kid's show. I should also point out one of the girls is in a wheelchair, and so when she transforms, she's still in a wheelchair.
Oh wow, a little bit avant-garde.
Yeah, but she has like some kind of like throne wheelchair thing. So they have that. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's really weird.
My goodness.
It's kind of a He-Man version of Sailor Moon.
It is kind of a long intro.
It is, yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
This would definitely put a date stamp on it.
It would,
Almost
yes.
as much. I don't know if you've seen there was a section of The Wizard of Oz that was cut.
Oh.
Where they danced the jitterbug.
Wow. Yeah.
And when you see the footage from it, you say, "Whoa, whoa, the jitterbug! What year was that?"
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Very. Oh, video gallery here.
So the one interesting thing about that is, as far as we know, this was the first attempt to do CGI in an American TV show. So when you saw the transformation sequence, it was live action matched with CGI rotating the girl. And it was a very sort of avant-garde attempt to, because no one had done CGI at that kind of level. So if that had happened, it would have been a big leap forward really for CGI.
Yeah.
That would have been like 91?
Wow.
I don't know. But yeah, it would have been very interesting. See here. Oh, hey, Pete. You see it, Pete? American-made SD Gundam. So there was SD Gundam Force, which was made by the Japanese for the American market. Well, I mean, it was made for Toonami. So they made it. The idea was they released initially on Toonami, released in Japan as well. But it was kind of their attempt to bring Gundam to American young kid audiences, and it didn't work, unfortunately.
Comicsology.
Comicsology. So it's a service that's basically an iPhone or tablet app for comics.
I can most envision that.
Yeah, it works really well.
It seems to make sense. The tricky part of is, as always, is content protection.
Yeah, yeah.
There's nothing like having a hard copy where somebody has to actually physically own it.
Yeah. Do they have a lost galaxy? I do not know. That's a good question. Yeah, the whole Super Sentai series had never really been successful in America. I will disagree with you there, Pete. I do not agree that SD Gundam Force is the worst Gundam.
Is there a worse one?
Oh yeah. And here's the thing: SD Gundam is made for 8-year-olds. It is a silly, fun, light adventure series. It's all CGI. It's simple. It's goofy, but that's what it's meant to be. You know, it's not meant to be a serious, complex thing. So I think for what it's meant to be, it works well.
So target audience.
Right, exactly. You know, it's like looking at, gosh, Blue's Clues. You know, it's a funny show, but
it's definitely yeah. So you wouldn't send some political series to a little kid with a lot of interaction and dynamic to the character.
Exactly. So I think that's fine. If you like Power Rangers and Super Sentai, check out not Superior Force. Akiha Ranger is the basic name of it. It is a Super Sentai series about Super Sentai fans who become a Super Sentai team. It's very meta. It's very weird. It's written by, like, it is an official Super Sentai show, but it's like a commentary on Power Rangers and all those things. And it gets very interesting. It's really neat. again, kind of silly and goofy, but you know, they're basically saying, yeah, this is goofy, this is dumb. Like, we should acknowledge that. That's okay.
I enjoy parody more when I've seen all the source material.
Right, that's the
parody.
thing. Yeah.
But sometimes I'll see the parody and I'll know it's a parody before I've seen the source material. And then when I see the source material, I'll laugh all the harder.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh,
Exactly.
it's true.
So Pete, what you're probably seeing there is there's a difference between SD Gundam and SD Gundam Force. So here's where we get a little sort of Gundam, go deep down the rabbit hole. Back in the mid to late 80s, there were a series of short Gundam short films that took SD super deformed versions of the mecha and the characters and did these goofy little stories with them. And they were just little one-shots that they kind of threw out there. They're really fun. They really play on a lot of the cliches of Gundam. If you've seen one or two Gundam series, it's hilarious. People will just fall over laughing. And they made, I think, 8 of these short films. So that became kind of its own little thing. And then SD Gundam Force is a whole other TV series where they created a whole universe and a whole storyline and so forth. So I think for SD Gundam Capsule Fighter Online, that's more the original SD Gundam approach versus SD Gundam Force. I'm not sure though. But that's often what you'll see is folks are referencing more SD Force. But yeah, SD Gundam Force was pretty popular in Japan. Folks liked it over there.
Okay. Master raised an important question. Do they make pilots for anime?
Sometimes, rarely. Well,
because I know with
often
sitcoms, they always.
So here's the difference. So we talked about before. Remember, the publisher is often financing the anime.
That's right.
So they don't have to convince themselves.
So usually a manga that's leading up to it. So it's a little bit different process of the creation and the primordial that it comes out of.
Exactly.
Already well established.
So, and like I said earlier, Serial Experiments Lane had a pilot. Blame, the manga series, they did a pilot which failed actually. So they made the pilot thing, but they didn't move forward with it. So they released that on DVD just as kind of an extra thing you could buy for $10. That didn't actually go anywhere. So yeah, it does happen. But like you're saying, it's the publisher of the manga is the one that's financing the anime, so they don't need to convince themselves.
And I'm sure it's somewhere the merchandiser comes in.
Yeah.
We can give you money to get this going. And the big circle.
Oh yeah. There's always multiple parties involved to say, we'll give you money in exchange for this.
It takes a big pool of money to make an anime.
Yeah, it does. Millions of dollars. The average anime series costs about $2 million.
Wow. If I had that pocket change.
No kidding. Yeah. It's why it's so it's why you don't see fan anime. People don't make a half-hour fan anime. They'll do a 2-minute short
footage from other anime, but from the ground up, it's a big business endeavor to get something like that off the ground.
Huge amounts of work.
Man hours involved. And so many different pieces of the puzzle and equipment, hardware,
and skill. Knowing how to animate at that level to make it look quality. There's only so many hours a day. Cool. Yeah, Super Robot Wars is fun. For those who aren't familiar with, Super Robot Wars is a Japanese video game where they basically went to as many different mecha franchises and said, we want to use your mecha in our game. And they said, look, we can't pay you anything, but we just want to do this. And they did.
Do RPGs start off, kick off a lot of anime, or is that?
Good question. Some. Not a huge amount, but there are a good number of video games that have had, RPG video games that have had anime adaptations. I don't remember good examples of that. Pablo Qua actually was one. Final Fantasy. Yeah, a few here and there. But tactical RPGs are a little hard. Well, Disgaea. I don't know if that's a tactical RPG or not, this Gaia, but that's certainly got lots of well, it got anime adaptations, I'll put it that way. Some people hated them, but G Generation, 1998 PS1. Huh, interesting. That would have been about the time that the what was the Gundam game came out for the PS1. We're playing that in stores.
To get that on our game show.
Yeah, that would be a good one,
game
actually.
show.
Yeah, that's a good name for it. We have to do that. Although, like, you came up with a title I really liked.
Are you playing with me?
Are you playing with me? That's awesome. Yeah, got to do that. That's cool. Cool. All right, I think we are going to head off now. We've been live streaming for a while now, so we need to get some sleep at some point. Cool. So thank you all very much for joining us.
Next time, join us for
episode 7 of Yamada's First Time, and episode 1, again, broadcast order, of The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. For those of you in the know, this is Magical Mikuru-chan. If you know what that means, then you know what you're looking for.
Magical
Mikuru. Yeah, I mean, we will find out. Cool. So that'll be the plan for next week. And as I mentioned before, so tomorrow's Tuesday, and we always stream on Tuesdays. I will be streaming a special test episode of a series called "If You Like That, Watch This."
Ooh.
So I'm going to be taking Cowboy Bebop, and telling you about a couple of other series that you should check out if you like Cowboy Bebop.
I love Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'll be pointing out a few things that are similar to Cowboy Bebop in certain ways. So taking kind of aspects of it and putting it off in different ways.
So you gotta surf in.
Yeah.
Check that out.
So it'll be a short episode. I'm actually going to be. It'll be in the middle of a D&D game. So we're pausing the D&D game doing that. So it won't be hours and hours, but we will be doing that. So tune in 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. That is the plan. So again, thanks guys for stopping by. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
And then next week.
Yeah.
Oh, how do I? Whoops.
Oh,
we gotta do it. Yes. We can put the control over there. Okay, you have no control over there.
Night. Farewell. Not Peter say adieu.